Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B and Survivor Global crossover for episode 10 of Survivor 49. My name is Mike Bloom here to bring a star-studded panel together that's a better match than turkey and mashed potatoes or barbecue and the sanctuary. And we hope good things will be happening as we break down a really fun episode. Some have been saying the best episode of the season so far. Liana, Boraas, agree, disagree?
Ooh, that's a good take, I would say. I wouldn't say that this was like, oh my God, the most exciting episode ever. This is more about 49 in general. But look, I had a good time. We got to go to the sanctuary where good things happen. We got to go to tribal council where death happens, apparently, according to Jeff. So I would say, all in all, it was a pretty good time.
Now, I was brought this guest opportunity to me to come onto this podcast only to get told it was a fake. But I'm so excited that we have the real McCoy here in person because we've done this, I feel like maybe like 2 or 3 times at this point, but I'm always so grateful to mix together this chocolate and this peanut butter, very appropriate for RHAP, when we get the chance to have the one, the only Shannon Guss on the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really shocked you didn't introduce us as like, it's not 3 boys on a bench, but there's 3 in there. So 3 podcasters on a podcast doesn't work as well.
3 podcasters on a podcast does not go work as well.
Yeah, if there was some way to make that segment even worse, it would be to call the song 3 podcasters on a podcast.
It really pains me how much that riff has been in my head for the last few days. Like, it got me, and I'm not proud of it. Best episode of the season, like, sure. Like, it was, you know? But I think that, like, you know what it was for me? Like, if I had guessed before the episode and like what we spoke about last week, that it was going to be a 5-4, taking out like a Juwan, or like, I could have got there, I think. But the thing that shocked me was Rizzo's bluff. So I was like, okay, this is new. Mm-hmm. This is something you couldn't have predicted a few days ago. And I like that in the season because it's few and far between. So I would say this probably was. And something I really enjoyed about the episode as well was like the layers of mole. It was like moleception. Mm-hmm. It was like they thought that it was like, say, Juwan and Sophie were the mole, but then like Sophie was a mole on top of the mole.
Yeah.
And that was exciting. Say mole again. So
yeah, I know it's fun. Yeah, Juwan, as sort of the swing vote alongside Sage for the past few votes, gets to pass the torch, much like he passed by his own torch to grab Rizzo's on the way out.
That was great. I loved your tweet about that he had stolen another thing. Juwan's gonna Juwan. I missed Juwan, by the way. I realized last week. Because I realized last week, I was like, Juwan is my rooting interest in the season. Like, even though he was making decisions that were like kind of baffling to me, I was like, I just like him so much. You could see he had such a good attitude when he got voted out. He seems like such a nice guy. He had a great story from like the bottom of Uli to the top of the swings to this like brutal blindside here. I just really enjoyed Juwan. His personal stuff as well. He was trying to mix it up strategically. And then, like the second they showed him with catching that one tiny little fish, I was like, oh, Juwan's going home.
Oh, that's interesting.
Already.
I was actually kind of surprised, at least from a gameplay perspective, because I feel like we had it set up so much in this episode, at least, and maybe it makes more sense now in retrospective because we haven't really gotten the like Savannah versus Sage really building to a fever pitch. But considering we got so much of Sage really setting up the Savannah boot, I thought it was really going to, culminate in her downfall, especially when Savannah is the one to suggest, like, well, why don't we just go for Sage? But as you mentioned, Juwan is the one to get caught at the end of that proverbial spear. I don't know, Liana, where do you stand? Were you surprised by the Juwan boot?
Yeah, I had narrowed it down to, I think it was going to be either one of Sage or Juwan that was ultimately going to go from watching the promos and stuff. I was very surprised that they chose Juwan out of the 2. I would have thought that Sage would have been, at least in my eyes, would have been the obvious vote, but that also has to do with the editing that I've seen, whereas I see the connection with Steven, right? I see how those 2 are together. Okay, maybe she's more of the glue guy in this particular instance, whereas Juwan, apparently, the social threat of the season? is that where we're at with Juwan?
Yeah,
I feel like that's so clear. I love Juwan.
Well, I think the thing is that we got a lot of exposition in this episode about a lot of people, right? Like Steven is so likable and he plays so well. Juwan is so likable. I think it does make sense the more I think about it, in that they talk all the time, the past couple episodes, especially about how Juwan was such a big provider for the group. He has this really heartwarming story. Hell, you had people
Yep.
wanting to be on his team for a reward challenge solely to give him food. So I think if you are sort of threat hunting, yes, Sage seems to be explicitly more of like a quote unquote player, but Jawan has more appeal as to like someone that could make their way to the end and win, as opposed to, I don't know. I don't know how people necessarily view Sage, but it seems like it's not nearly as good standing as Jawan.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think firstly, other than Hina, the rest of us ironically could see from space that it wasn't going to be Steven. So that like took out Steven. From an editing perspective, I just think back to when Luke went home in Australian Survivor 2017 and he had that scene where he's also in the water and he's like, this is where I'm like meant to be. And it's so beautiful. It's like, oh, you're about to die. Like, don't walk into the light. So I kind of felt like that with Jawan.
Is it like how seagulls fly out to the ocean before they die? Like whenever you see someone in the water have a prominent character moment, it's like, all right, this is a burial at sea preemptively.
I think it's just like the beautiful tragedy of like someone really finding themselves out there and then like having it, you know, like taken away from them. So I thought Jawan maybe from that perspective. I also think like at the point where Sophie was given the choice, we have at least heard behind the scenes that she and Sage are close, and that's probably been a lot of the investment the huge investment, the fatal investment that Sage and Jawan have given to Sophie, that led to Jawan going home. And I'm sure a lot of the guilt that Sage felt and that also really like heart-wrenching goodbye, that it was her relationship with Sophie that invested so much and doomed them here. I also think that if we look at what Sophie wants and we look at Sophie's choice, which was such a massive part of this episode, Sophie is not in a great spot from a jury perspective. We've heard like Alex say in the X interviews that, I love that I'm with Mike. I'm like, you know, you heard in the X interviews. I use Mike's great X interviews for this, but he was like, Sophie's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. She's had to flip. She might have to like, you know, if she was maybe gonna have to flip back here, flip individually. Like, I don't think she has a great jury chance. If I'm Sophie, my reasoning is very much like, who could I take out from a jury perspective? And she was going to get to take out Steven, who we hear is really well liked. And if you're not going to get to take out Steven, if you're hearing Jawan is well liked, that's a good reason to take out Jawan and get to stay with the side you want to stay with. So if I was Sophie, like both paths are tricky from a jury perspective. And I think at least take out someone who you're saying you don't want to sit next to, which is what she says.
Go ahead, Liana.
Well, no, I was going to say that that's interesting logic, right? Because I don't think that I would necessarily at this stage be thinking about that. But I totally get, at least between those two, right? That's where maybe the decision would lay. For me, I would like take it even a step further back and I would say, okay, what side do I want to align with? Thinking, how do I even get to the end in the best position possible? But I mean, based on her calculations, right, I'm going to assume then she feels the most confident with the Savannah, Soph, and Rizzo side.
Yeah, and she wants to work with them. I think this is something that, you know, we were talking about last week, and Miles and I kind of argued about where is Sophie, because I'm like, why would Jawan and Sage...
Some of the editors have been asking for a while now.
Which is weird because Sophie is great, but Jawan and Sage obviously let it go to this 4-4, and I was like, how did they do this? And Miles was like, they clearly think Sophie is with them, and I'm like, this is going to be a fatal misread, and it was, and I think she wants to work against Hina. We've seen that. She has been well insulated by Uli. They've done a really good job socially to keep her there where she actually wants to work with them. And I think that, again, when both paths are bad, like, I don't hate this decision for her, because it's like, well, how, again, if she's kind of like on a low standing from like, how is she going to win? I said last week, I don't hate the idea. You go with Uli, you're in a 4, it's pretty protected. Maybe you become the Rizzo killer. Like, if Rizzo keeps raising that threat, standing up at tribal council, doing flashy things, and you can rely on yourself from an immunity perspective, win immunity at 4, put yourself into fire, take out Rizzo at, you know, like things like there's a potential there. Whereas if you go with Hina, I think there are better possible jury, like, you know, people to sit next to, maybe Sage, maybe Christina. If you're taking, especially if you had, you know, you don't want to sit with Jawan and Steven, but if you sit with the others, there might be better potential there. But how are you going to individualize? It still doesn't look great. I see like it's a slim path, but I see a path with Uli where it's protected, and then there's like, you take out Rizzo, and
well, not to mention
they took out Jesse, you know.
Well, not to mention, like, we'll maybe get a bit of a focus on this next week, because it does feel like the Sophie squared dynamic might actually become a thing. Like, maybe, and this is sort of a blank that we need to have been filled in on, is like, again, we see a lot of people talking about it's Rizzo and Savannah. There's not a lot of talk about like where Soph fits into all
this.
They
call them the trio a lot.
Yeah, but maybe
they said it like 3 times.
Yeah, but I feel like they've said Rizzo and Savannah a lot more than they have like the trio. So maybe also Sophie feels like, okay, I made this close connection with Soph, and so like this is someone who I could possibly see myself go to the end with. I mean, the other thing about going to the end with Hina people as well is that like there are Hina members on the jury, and so I think even a Christina, who is definitely less of a threat than Steven, could still have people an MC, a Steven sitting on the jury. So I don't begrudge the decision a lot. I mean, I think what's also really interesting is we need to think about timing as well when it comes to the Fishlugana rice negotiation, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But like one of the reasons why they all turned it down, understandably so, is they're like, we have a week left. And so I also wonder if that calendar is playing into their minds as well, of them being like, there's only 7 days left of this game. Like, I need to be able to either find a position to sit on my hands and feel comfortable getting to the end with these people, or like, let me just start jumping. Let me start making moves here because I only have a limited amount of time. I'll blink and all of a sudden it'll be day 26 and we'll see if I'll be in the final 3 or not.
Yeah, I mean, definitely from a credit perspective, like if she's going to be going down this path with Hina, she's doing it with Sage and Jawan. Is she getting that credit? I mean, she is a very pivotal swing vote. As we see, she has a lot of power, but Sage is the architect of this move, and Sage and Jawan have been flipping all over the place, especially if Jawan is well liked. It's hard to see how she would individualize to be able to credit that. In this perspective, people might be mad about it, but like they should credit how good Sophie has been in luring in Jawan and Sage to fully trust her to the point where she had this much power, because Amol here had so much power with the 2 idols. Like the fact that she could go back and even without the extra vote say, this is how to target to get around their idol, and this is how to correctly play your idol in a world without the extra vote, was so much power. They gave her that power and she blindsided them. Like it was incredibly powerful. Well, can she vocalize that? I don't know. Will they like that? They might be mad, but there's actually individual credit there to be had. And then I think the potential to take out actually bigger threats. Like they're good shields, Uli, and then they're bigger threats to take out. So I'm going to swing for the fences where, again, I don't have a great chance to win. I think I'm going with that. I think sticking with Hina here is pretty safe. And I don't know who are the huge threats that you're taking out and how are you doing that alone? Whereas I see the path more specifically going with Uli. And usually I would say as well, okay, well, why don't you take out like a Hina here, like a Jawan or I guess a Steven, like the better jury threats, and then go for Uli next at 7. But Uli just have so many trinkets. I mean, I guess she thinks the idol's going to be played when she originally comes to them with the plan. But I do think you kind of have to pick between Hina and Uli here. And she picked Uli and I don't hate it. So,
well, I mean, I think you could also just boil it down to be as simple as Uli's never gone against her. Right. Whereas Hina,
though I'd be intrigued if she does know about that one Uli scene at the merge where they're like, yeah, let's go for Yellow Sophie. Yellow Sophie's fantastic. I'm sure they sort of, yada yada through that part when they were making their pitch to her.
Right. Or, that she feels most strongly about. Right. And I think it was a couple episodes ago where MC got voted off and she got back and had that whole conversation with Savannah and Sophie B. And I think and was like, they don't want me here. So that could just be enough to push you in the direction of wanting to play with people who want to play with you.
Yeah, I think that she actively wants to play with them. It's at least equal, if not better, to go with Uli. So to me, it makes sense. Again, equal again on a path where both are really tricky for Sophie. Do I see either path as Sophie's winning game? Probably not. But I see the vision more. Is that her plan? I don't know. I don't know what her long-term plan is here or her medium-term plan for the next week, but I think there's something there. I just don't see where it is with Hina. She's at the bottom of a 5. Again, I just don't know where that goes.
I could see a universe where she's not at the bottom of the 5. Okay, so let's say Savannah goes this week. Now you have potentially a group of 2, a group of 2, a group of 2, and a 1. Right. Mm-hmm. So then there's potentially a universe where she can sort of navigate and negotiate within those pairings, assuming that those 2 pairs don't clump up and form a 4. Because I think, yes, there could be an argument to be made that Steven, Christina, Sage, and Jawan could be considered a 4, but they just voted against, Sage and Jawan just voted against Christina and Steven the previous night. So that connection's obviously not that strong. So she could still potentially ping pong amongst those smaller groups and navigate that way instead of allowing power to coalesce with one group, which is the concern with going with Uli, where you now have this 3 that are super, super solid with still an idol in hand.
Yes. I do think, look, there's threatening, I think there are threatening things on both sides. Uli, it's a smaller group, you're in a 4, you're already in the 4, you're ready to fire, versus a 5 where you might be more outside of it, but maybe there's more room to maneuver. I see both parts of that. It is unfortunate just because Uli is so threatening that you couldn't think, okay, Jawan or Steven here, now I'm in the 4 of Hina, which is good, and maybe a lesser jury threat. Now we'll go for Uli at 7. But Uli is just going to win at 7. For a fact that Uli is just always going to win. So I think that Yeah, I think you make your bed here. And I think, yeah, I don't know what Hina are giving her. And at the end of the day, you can say, okay, well, the other sides have voted against, like, have voted against each other. Like, they didn't include Steven, but also they haven't included her. Like Juwan and Sage have actually been pretty good to her. They kept her over MC. They included her last week. So maybe that. But like, if you're in a 5, you don't see yourself, I think, as between 2 pairs, or one of the pairs are Steven and Christina. Like, Steven's 100 times closer to Juwan and Sage than he is to you. And I think she has a really bad relationship with Christina. So it's like, it's actively negative. It just doesn't have a lot of room. Again, difficult path either way, but she should be able to do like what she actively wants to do when one path isn't so much better than the other. And the Uli path to me, like, just seems clearer to me anyway.
And I feel like the logic there does make sense. Maybe less so with the logic she actually used on the show, which is like, Savannah is my challenge shield. I've got
that made no sense.
Like,
that was bad.
Again, it makes sense in theory, but with only a week left, like, maybe if you truly feel like, okay, I'm going to be gone as the next, big challenge beast, no matter what, then maybe. But that is like, it's weird to say overrated strategy, but I think it kind of is. Like, I just feel like we have seen more times it not work than it do so. Like, thank God to Jeremy Collins for being able to pull it off and show how it's done best. But we haven't seen it done great since, because we see much more the cons of this entire thing, which is like, yeah, but you're also keeping around someone that could beat you and someone who can also beat you in a challenge and also keep themselves safe. And so if Savannah, if they miss their one shot this time and now she wins out next time, it's like, okay, well, now we got to go for the second biggest challenge threat. And that's, sorry, Sophie, you're out now.
Well, that's why it makes no sense to me, is because then you're either winning the challenges, in which case you're safe, and you actually would have a better chance of winning it if Savannah's not there, or she's winning the challenges, in which case she's not a good shield. She's actually impossible to vote for, so in which case I think you would go. So from that perspective, and I also don't think that Sophie should be thinking about, again, I think this is how all Survivor players think all the time. It's like, I'm such a huge threat. How do I protect myself, shield myself? Like, if I'm Sophie, I'm thinking, how do I win at the end? Like, I'm already thinking that way. Like, I'm not thinking, how can I survive? I want to sit next to people I can beat. So I'd be thinking more about, how can I get to the end in a way that I can actually win? Not like, okay, well, how can Savannah possibly shield me till I get to the end and people don't like me anyway and I win? So that wouldn't be, and I lose. So I wouldn't be thinking from that perspective. So I didn't think that, but I did like when she was talking about Juwan as a jury threat and Steven as a jury threat. Because I'm like, okay, well, this is, yes, who can you beat? Let's sit next to them. So then get to the end. Can we talk about how the Hina plan made no sense?
Please.
Because I've been thinking a lot about this.
So just to remind people, so the Hina plan was the minority vote split, right? It's like, okay, even though they thought they were the majority, was like, okay,
they thought they were the majority.
We're going to throw everything onto Savannah, save for one vote. So if there's a double idol play, Christina's like, initially she says, okay, if Rizzo plays his idol, then I'll play my idol on you. She ends up, jumping first, essentially. She ends up flinching. Whereas Rizzo, like, takes the steering wheel out of his car in this game of chicken. And it was like, I don't have a car at all. Surprise. But then it was to throw a vote onto Rizzo just in case. Rizzo plays an idol on Savannah. Those votes are voided. She plays an idol on Steven. Those votes are voided. And so rather than going to a revote, it would be that one vote on Rizzo to get him out. But I don't know. I'm sure you're going to talk about this, but I would imagine, like, is it a problem if it goes to a revote?
No, like, firstly, if you have the majority, then the 0-0 revote is fine. You have the majority, you'll win that way. So you don't need so I thought maybe they think they're a minority and it's a minority vote split. But then I thought that's not possible, because if you're a minority, they're definitely not voting for Steven. Like, in their mind, they have 5 people, 3 of whom are moles, right? Sophie, Juwan, and Sage. So those people are telling you the other side are voting for Steven. So they have to be with you. So you have to be the majority. So you don't have to put a vote on Rizzo, because, again, you go to the 0-0 revote and just vote out Rizzo then. If you're the minority, then it's a minority split vote. That could be good if there's a double idol play. However, then, they're definitely not voting for Steven. Like, even if one mole gets out, which is what we saw happen, they're going to change the target. Like, you can't be putting your faith in people. Like, if you're the minority, they're lying to you. So if they're lying to you about being with you, they're also lying to you about the target. So then Steven isn't the target, whether it is all 3 of them against you, at which point they might split the vote, in which case Christina definitely should have protected herself. Or even if it's just one person, as we saw with just Sophie, she would definitely be like, you can't vote for Steven. They know that you're voting for Steven. Like, you have these other moles who are not with you, and that she'll tell them where to play the idol. So yeah, it just didn't make any sense to me. I guess the only way that would be if you're trying to counter their minority split vote, which I don't, that seems like a lot. If you think you have the majority again, so then Steven is the target, you're winning 5-3, but they think, well, minority split vote. So then when it's a double idol play, they have one vote, but now you also have one vote. It's a 1-1, you win on the revote. But I don't think, do we think, is that what, no, they weren't thinking that. So it doesn't make sense, right?
No, I think, my guess is they didn't factor in, like, Christina probably didn't factor in the fact that if Sage, Jawan, or Sophie were lying, like, I think it was just that she was like, oh, we just got to throw an extra vote just so we don't go home. Like, I genuinely don't think that it was anything more complicated than that, because what you're saying is absolutely true, right? Which is like, you would know whether or not the minority is doing a vote split, even though, or I guess the other side, which would be the perceived majority, if that's what they thought that they were, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was just a Christina potentially panic moment of like, we just got to protect ourselves just in case, without actually thinking through all those logical steps that lead you to what your conclusion is.
What I find so fun is that, and Sophie, speaking of, is that there was a secret scene this week, which for many reasons I wish made the episode proper, that actually may have contributed low-key to the boot this week, where, as we saw a bit on the episode, that Sophie tells Soph, you know, when she's approached about like the suspicions from Sage that Christina might have an idol. She then tells her about that. And Soph actually follows that up by just yoinking Christina's bag right there, right then, and goes through it. And she finds a set of beads that she doesn't recognize and is like, okay, I don't know if this is actually an idol, but it's idol-y enough that I am going to, shift the target here to the metal people to avoid like our votes getting askew or a scoot anyway by throwing them onto the hyenas. And I think the irony of that too is like, if Christina had discovered that people went through her bag and possibly found an idol, maybe she would have assumed that and was like, okay, if they're voting for other people, I don't need to use my idol at this point. I mean, I think at least, there's no immediate buyer's remorse at the end of the episode when they're like, well, you know what? At least it wasn't us.
That was so painful. The whole thing was so, I'm sorry. It was so painful to me. Like, firstly, Hina just are so desperate to play their idols. Just desperate at the wrong people. And Rizzo just keeps holding on. It's like, again, it is the perfect encapsulation of what has happened in this season. The fact that Hina will keep incorrectly, like, at least Christina held it for that one tribal council. Like, that's the best you can say about this at this point, while actually losing the vote. So, I mean, painful. I think the fact that it was just, it's hard to watch Hina get lapped just again and again and again, because all are doing just like all the right things. I think it's Savannah who's like, well, we'll put it on the swings. Perfect. Yeah. But then Rizzo's like, but we should still make Sophie comfortable enough to choose. Perfect. Like, I thought the bluff, which we'll talk about, was great. They use the extra vote so that they can save their idol. Like, it's painful to watch that Hina are like even like Christina and Steven are like, we're going to do a blind side. I'm like, we're going to throw this vote. Didn't make sense. And then like, even at the end, they're like, well, we're still here. It's like, no, this went terribly. Like, it was Hina are just, they're too chill. They're too happy to be there. It hurts my soul.
Except for like, Sophie. Sophie was, I know there's a lot of talk obviously about how like intense Savannah is, but look at Sophie coming through with like the, hey, you know what? I'll make the apologies when I'm cashing that $1 million check. So take your sorries and stuff them in a sack.
Yeah, and like what I loved was, and I mean, look, Uli, I think, were maybe the 6 best characters of the season. Like, all 6 Ulis, I think, maybe were 6 through 6. And there's so much good stuff there. Like, when Jawan goes and Sage is just, like, the way that he takes it so well, but his partner and Sage, like, I love watching that partnership. And she's so heartbroken and so guilty. And you can see in the next time on, like, she's coming for Sophie. Like, it's so good. Like, and Hina are just their polar opposites. Like, Hina have just been, like, bested in every way. The idol was flushed. The Rizzo idol was not flushed. Like, they had an ally go home. Like, at least they were like correctly reading Sage and Jawan, I guess. But like, it went so poorly. Like, the fact that Steven and Christina were like, well, you win some, you lose some. It's like, you haven't won in a long time, actually. At a point, you got to win some, So I don't know, it's just killing me. Like, it's killing me more.
Yeah, no, it was like they lost to Lemon. They're like, well, at least it was furthest away from my heart, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
fine.
This
I'm
is just
still
an
living.
arm and not a
Three
leg.
others. Yeah.
Yeah,
No problem.
and the next episode will they be coming back like, and I'm excited to do a blindside like Hina. I can't even explain to you the edit disparities that you were getting right now.
I
Like,
think
you have to
they're
understand
really
what's
they're
going
really
on.
living for those glory days. Like they really peaked at the merge. It's like peaking in high school, right? They're still wearing their Letterman's jacket from the merge tribe. They're like, remember when we got one over on Nate? Because yeah, I mean, if you look at
And
this
technically
season
Shannon.
being a microcosm of the Hina Uli war, the only real there was a lot of friendly fire with Uli with the Shannon vote, and then the Nate vote was the same thing. Otherwise, Hina hasn't been winning a lot as of late, and they weren't winning a lot in the beginning either, considering that they lost Matt and Jason as well.
Yeah, well, I
that's
think
true.
that's why I think I'm losing my mind. Like, I think it's like they never went to tribal council, and then I think it's because I've ranted about it so much on the podcast, but I watched them watch their allies go home. They didn't think about throwing a challenge, or it was never vocalized to us. Just like, bye, Jason, bye, Matt. All right, bye. Okay, then they got a win, and now they're just getting curb stomped every episode, and even then they're not like I actually like when Christina came back, like, and there's no middle ground. Christina's like, I want to quit. Or like, well, I'm like, look, a lot of the grief, like, I mean, I can't speak to that, and that's like very valid. But like, there has to be a middle ground of like, I'm not gonna quit, but I'm like incensed about this. Like, stand up. Anyway, I can't. I didn't know that
She
it was
did. She
me,
stood up to
but
play her idol on Steven. That's what you wanted, right?
She did. You're protecting each other.
So obvious that it wouldn't be Steven, but you can see it was so obvious, like that they would go. It's like Steven is the obvious pick. It's like, yes, and would they do the obvious pick? I guess they were about to, but honestly, that is such a credit to Sage and Jawan, because I will say Sage and Jawan had blindsided Uli, right?
Yeah.
Like we have to say before Sophie came to them, Sage and Jawan actually did do that. So
Yeah.
credit to them.
And it's interesting because yeah, I'm so intrigued to hear from Steven or Christina eventually, like why they felt so trusting in Sage and Juwan after the MC vote and after the Alex vote, where they
and Sage
were
hates Savannah. So
yeah,
much.
like they're like,
Yeah.
are you working with us at this point? But maybe again, it's because it was specifically Savannah. They're like, okay, she really means it this time. And to be fair, she did mean it that time. You know, she really was willing to jump on board with it. But yeah, it's an unfortunate little tugboat that these two are pulling right now, as opposed to sort of like the cruise liner ship that seems to be helmed by the trio at this point. Because even though they lost the extra vote, they still have the knowledge is power. So like, granted, if one of them finds the idol, Soph could easily take a 50-50 shot and just be like, or I suppose if Sage has it as well, she could guesstimate and grab it there. And then of course, Rizzo does have his idol, which I still think there's a very good chance he may never play at this point, because they do have, if Sophie is, keeping on with this group, the outright majority from here on out.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the fake idol though, right?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, that was so awesome.
What?
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
So good.
So much.
What?
Yeah. Firstly, I was with believing Sage and Juwan, I meant more from an Uli perspective, because I don't know how, like, it's actually not great for Savannah that she fully believed Sage. The one good thing that Hina did was that they correctly believed at least Sage and Juwan. Yeah, I've seen a lot of takes on how this idol, like why this idol was bluffed. Do you guys have a good? Cinema was said a lot. A lot of people are saying cinema. A lot of people are saying Survivor 50. So and maybe and it made the episode better for me. So.
Yeah, I think that the two major schools of thought that I've heard about this was that it was a way to test Sophie's reaction, a la Nick Wilson and David versus Goliath, which was unsuccessful, where he's like, okay, if Sophie feels jumpy about it, then all right, then that means that she clearly flipped over to the other side. Then I can use my real idol to save Savannah. So this is a way to chum the waters. The other side is, okay, well, now people will think that the idol was fake the entire time. I lean much more into the first school of thought than the second.
Oh, I'm so ready to debate.
Yeah, same.
Really, because when he sits down, Juwan is like, okay, now pull out the real one. You know,
I know.
Yeah.
And that's when you want to play your idol, when the person that you are doubting tells you, wait, like the person who's meant to be your ally is like, no, you should play it. It's like, wait, why should I play it? Aren't you with me?
Yeah,
but though you're not with me,
right?
But you're telling me to play it, so you didn't vote. Like, I like anyway. Jawan showed that he wasn't with Rizzo in that moment. When it's like, you
Oh,
should
yeah.
play it. It's like, but we have the majority. Don't
the
we?
vote, so why would I need to play it?
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with Mike. I think it was also because, and this could be for the cinema of it all, but the whole grandiose, he like took his time, he looked around, he like paused, he stopped, he looked at everybody. Like that's a man who's gauging the faces of those people sitting in those stumps. So that for me is where I ultimately landed. But I could absolutely see all those other explanations being true as well. I think that Rizzo is somebody who has consistently said that he wants, I mean, he even says it in this episode at Tribal Council. He's like, I'm here to have fun. I want to put on a show. I'm putting on a performance. Like I'm doing this for the funsies. So I could see him doing it also for like not necessarily all strategic reasons, but yeah, sure. Maybe he can try to get a read on Sophie, but also then he can do something that's going to make great TV.
I'm confused because I just had the memory that like they all found the idol with Rizzo. Like Sage was a part of that. Because my theory was, I mean, definitely cinema first. Then I thought in terms of, I thought, now I'm thinking about it because it's like, I thought it was kind of brilliant to be like, I never had the idol. However, again, Uli were with him when they all found it.
Yeah.
So Sage and Juwan have like really credible evidence of that. I did think it was that because I couldn't imagine it was a read. And here's why. Sophie is so trustworthy. And if they have Sophie, they win. Like, in what world is Sophie not with them? Like, in this world where Sophie's not with them, they have been blindsided by Sage and Juwan. They are voting for Steven. They think they have the majority. And Sophie, and they're not playing the idol. So you can just vote Rizzo straight out with the idol if you want. And Sophie comes to them and is like, they're actually not with you, which would be true in this case. I am with you, but she's not in this case. And then you should play the idol in Savannah so they can vote Rizzo out anyway. Like, you could have just done that anyway. It would just be well overcomplicating. And if anything, giving Rizzo more of a chance to try and discern what's happening rather than just doing what they were doing, which was in this world where none of them are with him, just blindsiding him.
Yeah.
So, and he says it in the episode. He's like, Sophie's given us so much information. She talks about Christina's idol. She talks, she tells him Sage and Juwan aren't with them.
Yep.
Why would she do any of that if she wasn't actually with them when they already have a perfect plan, when they actually were blindsiding Uli? It was working. So I can't imagine he didn't trust Sophie. So I can't imagine it's a read. But yeah, I did think it was kind of brilliant to be like, I've never had the idol. Imagine if I've never actually had an idol this entire time and it's been the main storyline of this merge. Correct. However, I am now thinking like, I need to go back and see who saw him find it. And also, to be fair, someone has the Uli idol. So you got to be wary anyway. It's not going to get
he did find it by himself. Like, he was alone when he did. And then he turned to everyone and was like, I found it. Like, and I
did he show them it?
I believe, now that I'm thinking about it, I believe he does show them the beads and says, like, this is for us. This is for
But
all
it could have been a fake. So that
would have been a very long branch to extend yourself out on like day 10 to be like, all right, everybody, this is a fake idol and it's a group idol. Because, like, imagine if they did say, hey, Rizzo, things are looking real dire. Play that idol on me. If he's like, bet, by the way, it's a fake. That would not look really great for him, and it would screw over one of his allies in the process.
Well, maybe if you're Sage and Juwan, it's like they all knew about it except us. Like, we were being fooled the whole time. But again, someone has to have the Uli idol, surely. So you'd still be wary that one of Savannah or Rizzo have the idol. So I mean, I don't know how much. I think cinema was the main thing, but I do think if you can somehow put any doubt in their mind that they aren't so focused on the idol, I think that's the other thing. I think the read to me is the least because Sophie deserves more than that, trying to be read in that moment.
Let me offer an alternate theory here, because something that I'm incredibly intrigued by is that we know, yes, this trio has been bred out of shared trauma from the loss of Nate Moore. They shall rise anew, emboldened to move forward. But we don't get a lot of sense as to, like, and granted, it seems like we're going to hear from Soph at least a little bit next week about, like, do I turn on the two of them? We haven't gotten a lot from, like, Rizzo and Savannah personally about, do they want to go to the end against the other one, and how do they feel their chances are? Is there an option that Rizzo did this as a way to kind of, like, claim this as his own, you know? And granted, maybe Savannah steals that spotlight again when they have the whole fun, icy stare down moment between her and Juwan when he thinks he has her. He's like, yeah, it was me. And then she's like, nope, actually, it was me and him and her as well at the end of the day. Maybe it was
Rizzo. Me twice, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was Rizzo a little bit talking about, obviously he was a major factor behind the scenes of the MC vote and the Alex vote. Could this be something a bit more visible that he could claim as his own as well, maybe over Savannah? Is like, I was able to make this big bluff with this idol when I knew I already had the votes, but it got people scared. It's a little bit of like a whole-filled logic, but I think a lot of these arguments are Swiss cheese at this point.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible, right? Like, you have to imagine Savannah's winning all of these public immunities, so she's got that in her back pocket. She can talk about that. So if you want to try to set yourself up as like the hidden immunity idol king, she's the visible front-facing immunity queen. Is that maybe that's what we're going for? It's like both real and fake idols. I'm gonna play them all. I think, I mean, they've just been on the quote unquote like bottom for so long that I just think they're probably doing anything they can to like, because even Rizzo says it's like, if we get through this, and I think this was last week, like if we get through this vote, then we can control this, the one that just happened in this episode, in episode 10, with the extra vote. Like we just need to get there. Like we're clawing. Now this is maybe the first moment where they feel like, oh, we're on the top now. Okay, maybe I should start making moves to differentiate myself, to now start to advocate to the jury in the same way, Shannon, that you were saying about Sophie. She needs to start thinking about who she's going to sit next to in the end. Maybe now this new majority alliance, Rizzo included, might start thinking about the same things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, any doubt that you can put into the idol when people are so sure that you have an idol, I don't think is a bad thing. Like, even if it's just Hina, and even if Seiju's like, no, he definitely has it, it's like, well, did you see him find it? Was it a fake? Like, any of that doubt away from concrete information, I think is, a good thing. We know knowledge is power is in the game. If you can put doubt there, like even the fact that Sophie, the secret scene where Sophie finds the beads is hilarious. It's so new era coded because it's not the idol that she finds, and it literally just looks identical to what they say are the Tree Mail beads. They're like, these beads are slightly bigger. I'm like, are they? So I mean, like any of that doubt, I think is a good thing. The funny thing is the main doubt you want to plant, I think, is with Sophie B. Because Miles was saying last week, like the best thing, and I was so glad that Sophie didn't play her knowledge is power here, because I think if you were going to play it for the group, you could have stolen MCs way back when. Yeah. But the hope that Miles and I had was that Sophie's move is to wait till 5, Rizzo still as the idol, take the idol at 5, you become the Rizzo killer before Sophie was going to become the Rizzo killer at 4 in my mind, the other Sophie. And you've won the game, just to get through 5, and you've won the game at that point with like one of the coolest moves ever. The first idol stolen in US Survivor history would be very cool, but Sophie knows he has like a real idol. But yeah, again, if he could put that doubt, if someone does have knowledge is power, let's put in doubt. Yeah. Why not? Why should they have concrete information on you? I mean, that's just leverage. So I still think it was that. How much it'll work, I don't know. Again, even the fact that Juwan isn't like, wait, you never had an idol. He's like, play the real one, ally.
Yeah.
So I do. I don't know if it worked. I think that it, flashy, great. If it puts in doubt, good. The read, I don't see the read for me. But
yeah, I think that's something that's missing from the storytelling this season is how Rizzo is perceived. And maybe it is to hide a bit of either A, is he more of a like stealthy threat to win than we may know? Or is it B, that like he's actually a goat and like nobody's really, we talked about this last week, Liana, right? Mm-hmm. One of the theories is like, oh, is he Xander coded? That like the reason why
he not be a goat, surely.
That I would imagine that's the case, but
But I used to say that about Xander. I'm getting deja vu.
Exactly, that's the thing. It's what these young, lanky kids on Survivor and the goatiness aspect that is attached to them. But I would love to hear from people, and I also wonder if this will change a perception, because if he was so behind the scenes, this is the most visible out in front move that he did do at Tribal Council. Does that start changing? I mean, I look back to like Jam Jam and Carolyn, right? Where like Jam Jam started only questioning Carolyn when she played the idol on Carson. And it's like, oh, she's making a move that I cannot be inextricably tied to. This is not looking great for my prospects, even though it did at the end of the day. So I'm really intrigued to just see, yes, I don't know how much this will change the perception that Rizzo has an idol, but how much will this change the perception of Rizzo as a player now that he's made this big public display and rug yank at the last second?
I don't think that it's a Xander thing. I mean, it can't just be, well, we don't care about taking out Rizzo's idol. I think he is a jury threat. And I also think even if he wasn't a jury threat, you'd want to take out the idol. Like here alone, if they didn't have the extra vote, it's what would have prevented them and the mole from being able to keep Savannah, who they definitely want out. So they don't want him to have the idol. They want to be able to flush the idol. They're not just like not thinking about him and the idol, even if they're happy for him to get to the end. So I don't think that. I just think that they can't do it. I've watched them try, kind of. I've watched them at least talk about it, so I know that it's something that they technically
They've
want.
talked about it in the way that
Yeah.
you're like talking with your friends. You're like, you know what, we should go on vacation together next year, and
It's
like
never making it out of the group
nobody
chat.
books the
Yeah,
travel,
somebody
no one
Just
books
never
the
making it out of the
airline.
group chat.
It's just
Bro.
it's all like a prospective idea, like, oh yeah, that would be great, but nobody has the initiative to actually put forward the plans.
But
They
like,
desperately
I mean,
just hope every week that he'll just play it.
that's what I mean, kind of, yeah. But
Yeah.
but from a jury perspective, I'm actually more impressed that he's never played his real idol than anything with the fake idol. Like, to me, the fake
of
idol would
course.
just be like, oh, haha, he's having fun. I would take no serious credence to that if I were sitting on the jury. What I would take serious credence with is him having the balls to not play that idol and feeling confident enough with his social reads that he's willing to hold on to it. So for me, that's probably the bigger jury, or the move that would impress me if I were sitting on the jury is not playing the idol. Nothing with the fake. That doesn't
I
impress me.
completely agree with you. I mean, especially looking at the other idols again, like MC, Christina, and Alex needed it, but like instantly, and right, like none of them have negated any votes. So Alex negated one. The fact that Rizzo has had the security to not just not protect himself, but to not protect his allies, and they've all made it through, is so impressive. You know, in every iteration, in the split tribal, and like these, I mean, again, he knew would have played it 5 times by now, but I can't get away from.
No, I mean that's the wild thing is that like he can make an argument saying this idol was actually the leader of our alliance because it not only protected me, it protected everyone around me because of the pure idea that I could play it on someone else. Now, granted, again, they sort of wanted to call Rizzo's bluff and like, okay, let's throw the votes on. Though I guess the reason why they targeted Savannah in the first place was because I don't know if they expected Rizzo to play the idol on Savannah. And so, you know, maybe they didn't count on necessarily that information getting out. But like, yeah, I mean, it's such a huge cogent argument that he would be able to make, which is like, yeah, this thing is more a symbol than anything, right? This is a symbol of my power. This is the symbol of the fact that I, a 25-year-old string bean who, with his full bird-like chest, calls himself the Riz God in confessionals, is running this game at this moment. What does that say about you?
Yeah, and I think that's why if you're like Hina, you can't say at the end, well, we didn't care, like let him get to the end, because he's not just using it to defend himself. Like he's using it to like actively win the vote often. Like he has, I mean, just so much leverage with that idol for the whole of his Uli group. So I don't think that you could say, well, we didn't care because we didn't see him as a threat. It's like, even if that were true, you just gave me so much power. Like, even if it was power to get people to the end and you thought you could beat me, like, and I often say this about, it's like, well, you know, I don't care to vote out this person if they're winning challenges as an example. I can beat them at the end. It's like, but who wants to be at a final 4 when they're winning the immunity challenge or the final 5? Like, it's just a lot of power, and this idol is somehow even more. So it would not be a good argument to me, and I don't think it's a true argument. I think they want that idol out of the game. They can't, they're like, you win some, you lose some. I'm like,
more like you lose most and you win on a couple of occasions due to the opposition tripping over their own shoelaces.
Yeah, they took out Nate riding that high.
I do think what's interesting here is Sage and Jawan, because they have in their minds won a lot. Like they have been on the right side of every vote, even though we've been like tearing our hair out at the decisions. In their mind, like this was a huge fall. For us, it was more like a gentle slide into this clear inevitability. But I think it's just so interesting. And I loved that Sage felt so guilty. Again, I think it is the investment in Sophie. And I also think for Sage, what is so clear in this episode, when we look at like, why was it Alex last week? And I think we said, you know, probably the fact that Savannah is immune. Like they really do want Savannah out of the game. And
specifically Savannah. Yeah.
I think that being so zeroed in on Savannah has been deadly. Like I think the fact that they like, I think that Sage probably last week, specifically Sage, because she's so set on Savannah, probably was like, well, I'm not taking my shot at Uli when I can't have Savannah. I'll take it next week. And at that point, the game was already lost. So I think that's such an interesting thing for me. From again, like Sage and Jawan, 2 of the best characters, really fun partnership to watch. But I think we're operating on a level, it was getting like way too cute. Like, look at what Sage says she wants to achieve from this. She wants to take out Savannah flush Rizzo and Christina's idol. See, that's the thing
Yeah.
for me. Is like, I'm with no one. Let's
Mhm.
flush everything. It's like Jawan is going home.
Which
So
also
that's
led to
hard.
her not necessarily tilting all these dominoes in motion, because again, we assume that they already had Sophie and the advantages on their side, but like that's the reason why she hints to Sophie. Oh, rumor has it around the water cooler they're talking about the
Mhm.
fact that Christina has an idol is because it's too cute. She is trying to get this
Yeah.
optimal ideal, and it makes sense, as you mentioned, for her to be a bit high off her own supply, because like she has kind of helped handpick all of these boots so far, starting with Shannon. Even every tribal council she's attended so far, she has not only been in the majority, but has seemingly, from our perspective, directly contributed to who is going. So, like, yeah, it's kind of odd to say, but like, was Sage low key on a power trip here? And that's
Definitely.
what partially led to her closest ally going.
I think we saw it last week as well. They were like, they saying we're in control, and I came into that being like, okay, interesting, because I didn't know what happened with MC. Like, I thought maybe they were just like pressured. Well, I think they were pressured to do. I think they were pressured against their interest, but I thought maybe they were like, well, we want Sophie, but we don't have the votes. It's a 3-3. Like, I didn't know how that had happened. Like, the fact that they are like, well, we've had so much agency and control. We've been actively making these choices, but it led them to hear shows like there was a rot in the plans, and I think. Yeah, I mean, they gave a lot to Sophie, to Yellow Sophie, for her to be able to do this. And I guess they assumed Sophie would be with them. But even in a world where Sophie was with them, like, you know that Uli have so much. Like, you know that, I mean, you know at least about the idol, and like you just know. You just know they've got. I mean, they said at the time, Sage said at the time when Savannah came to the split tribal, like, does she really just get to vote? And it was interesting here that the extra vote wasn't actually numerically imperative, which is hilarious to me,
Yeah.
because even when like the extra vote is like at its most powerful, it's like technically they would have won on a 4-3-1. But I do think this was maybe, I mean, I need to look at it, and I've been very harsh on the extra vote through the years, but possibly the best use of the extra vote, because what it did was it saved them the idol, because I don't think Yellow Sophie knew about the vote on Rizzo. I think that seemed like a really individual split. So she went in saying, play the idol on Savannah. That's how they would have won with the idol. And they're like, how about instead we pay a lot less? We pay this extra vote, and they thought they were going to win on a 5-4. So it saved them the idol, which, I mean, that's great, because that's way more valuable to them.
Do you think Savannah will tell people next episode? Because it doesn't seem like nobody was doing the math during the MC.
The jury
vote.
were.
The jury was.
The jury talked about it.
The jury talked about it. So I wonder if people will also talk about it as well, or if, again, they all seem a little heat-stricken, a little starving. They don't have rice, a little bum puzzled. So they're not. So Savannah will have to sort of like volunteer the information of like, oh yeah, by the way, I got. Trying to also maybe, again, if we're talking about my fictional sort of like one-upping battle between her and Rizzo, to be like, oh, and by the way, everyone, I had an extra vote from the split tribal council that I used here to put the nail in Juwan's coffin. Like that could be a fun way for her to start off the episode as she gleefully dances on the grave of her like one-sided rival.
I mean, why not, right?
Yeah. I think I would only mention it though if other people bring it up. Otherwise I would kind of save it, because especially if Sophie, for example, feels a type of way about the fact that Savannah hit an extra vote, that could be a concern. But I mean, I can't imagine somebody's got to go back there and get the fingies out and start doing some counting. So
no, count the damn votes. What is someone going to do to have the votes counted around here? They didn't do it at the split tribal. Yeah, what, they read out all 5 votes, like at a point, read, like, count the votes. But I mean, if the jury are working it out, you would think that maybe they would, and it's better than at the split tribal, because then it's like, wait, who saved the vote? Like, what happened here? This is like, I played it. You know, it's not a threat to you anymore. It does make me more of a jury threat. But also Savannah at this point has like made the bed of the way she's perceived. She's not like super well liked, but she is a huge threat. Like it,
I completely agree. Like, save for like if she has speaking of another Sophie, if she has like a Sophie Clark-esque like breakdown at tribal council, which maybe warms the perception of her, like that might change how people view her a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. Because again, I don't think she's necessarily viewed as like under the thumb of everybody. If anything, she's the palm. She's the hand. She's the one that seemingly is like, she's scary. Do you see the way that she just rattles you by asking you the audacious question of who are you voting for? Do you see her directness that brings you to your knees with how out of nowhere it is? And she can win challenges. Like, I don't know. I think that's why, again, the Savannah Rizzo insert other person here final 3 is so intriguing to me, because we have this classic example, right, of like the person who is perceived externally as like the one, quote unquote, running the show. And then you sort of have the person who behind the scenes is seemingly running things. And it's always intriguing to see who wins out from those positions at the end of the day.
I just think like Savannah, I mean, it's hard for me to get past that she's like just so disliked. And I'm like, look, it's great TV, but does she have to be like so openly antagonistic to these potential jurors? Like in so many ways, it's fun. I mean, I think Jawan will take it well. Like she gives Jawan a hug on the way out.
Yeah.
He's coming for her. She comes for him.
And that's the thing. I think that's
all
a
good.
big sign of respect of like, I mean, what could she not respond with except for like, you were getting me, so I had to get you, you know? Like it's not like a personal punching down moment. If anything, she was just kind of wildly swinging to make sure she got out of the corner she was backed into.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Jawan stuff I think is fine. Even the fact that she is like literally like laughing about things he's saying at tribal council. We see she's like, I'm going to mess with him. It's like, does she need to mess with him? I think Jawan is the best sport maybe here. The Christina stuff, you know, I don't love that. I mean, and maybe she thinks maybe she'll sit next to Christina, but it like, I think that would be a good bet, but I also don't know that necessarily is how it ends up. Because I know we should talk about that scene where Christina's like, who are you voting for? Well, no, sorry. She's like, I want to be a number. Savannah's like, who are you voting for? Christina's like, one moment, please.
Yeah, she literally like dissociates. It's like BRB.
There's so much here that's like, it's just so funny. Like, yeah, like does Savannah need to be openly antagonistic? Like, I don't think she should be. Like, I don't think she, like, at the end of the day, this conversation is completely irrelevant. Like, there are two people who know that the other one is voting against them. There are most of this tribe is a mole. 3/8 of this tribe is a mole. Not these two people. We know we are coming for at least each other's side, if not
feels like
each
you
other.
gotta go see an oncologist when your tribe is 3/8 mole. Something carcinogenic is living there.
So many moles. It's genuinely, it's concerning. I do, yeah. So like we see these conversations all the time. One of my favorites is in Token Teens when everyone's working, like Timbira are all working with JT. I think it's at the merge on either side, but they all have a conversation about how they're all voting for JT. It's like, everyone here is lying. This is a pointless conversation. Yeah. And it's so evident here. So you almost might as well not have the conversation, but like, yeah, just openly lie. Like nothing you say is important, but maybe just don't put off a potential juror, Savannah. And for Christina, like have part 2 of the opener, you know, I'll vote with you. Okay. Who are you voting for? You tell me. Anyone, Steven, whoever. My point. Use me. I will vote for whoever you tell me to vote for. Do I need to push Steven under the bus? Are you doing a 3-3-2 split? Then yes, I will vote for Steven. You know what I mean? Like nothing you say matters, but also you both couldn't have done worse.
That's the thing. Like I totally agree that I think, you know, I could understand, and if the way that Savannah sort of approached the directness of that conversation is the way she approaches the directness with a lot of conversations, then like that could be a key insight as to how is she sort of building relationships outside of the trio and how might that negatively affect her when it comes to a jury situation. But then also, yeah, Christina, you don't need to take like improv classes to be able to respond to yes and this, right? To be like, yeah, anybody, sure. Just I don't know who I'm voting for at this point. Like I was voting for X, but I could vote for anyone that you want me to at the end of the day. Like it needs to be open. It could be as open as you are claiming yourself to be.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of a slightly different version of the jam strategy of let me like really get to know people. So, and like have them tell me when they're telling the truth. So then that way I can read them when they're lying. This is just Savannah's approach, which is let me just berate them both in truth and in lie. And then we'll see when they crack. So yeah. maybe that's what it is.
I like that tribal council also, Savannah's like, you've got to pick up on the way they're operating and how does their body language change? Like, yeah, you really picked up on the subtlety of Christina taking 5 steps away from your conversation, away from you when you asked her who she was voting for. Really, like Sherlock Holmes could not do better, milady.
It is also the fact that she was like, I didn't like that. It was like, we have to. The question she said it in a like confrontational way, and I understand that the way like it's not even as much of like what Savannah's doing than like how she's doing it, and like people feel a type of way about her, and the jurors will decide how they feel about that. And that's something all of these players have to deal with in their own social game. However, you would think, I mean, to be fair, the question she asked is who are you voting for? Was like, it wasn't like, I mean, like there are so many more difficult questions.
Yes.
You know, that's nothing. That's not, just lie.
That's the thing. Like if you were practicing lying, if you were trying to rehearse with a scene partner to practice lying for Survivor, this would be like example 2, right? Like the first one would be, what's your job? That's the number one thing you're supposed to lie about. And the second one is like, who are you voting for? Like, you should have been able to drill this, alongside fire making and slide puzzles.
I will say, like, I think best episode of the season, like every episode there's gonna be stuff where I'm like, ugh. Three boys on a bench, like, sure, again, it's in my head. But like it was the straight cut from like, who are you voting for, to I've like melted down as a human being, into Savannah being like, it's because I was a news reporter. I was like, the laptop's going out the window. I can't watch this damn season anymore. Like, it was all of it in the space of 30
Savannah
seconds.
knows how to ask those gotcha journalism questions. Like, who are you voting for? Really digging into the core of who you are.
She's just,
Tough.
yeah, I mean,
Tough.
and
Tough.
yeah, she was a news reporter in the past. So
She was.
yeah, I hope that her interviews go a lot better. What type of news reporter was Savannah? Now we know she must have been hard hitting, right?
Well,
like,
yeah.
maybe that is the issue.
From what she was telling me, and maybe it's because of these unfortunate situations she found herself in that sort of bred this trauma. She talked to me about the fact that, like, she had to do some really tough shit, like going into the homes of drug dealers and talking with criminals on the
this
street.
makes so much sense.
So she
This
was
makes
sort
so
of,
much sense.
it feels like she was sort of relegated away from the puff pieces and towards like the,
Yeah.
all right, let's put you face to face with a dangerous individual. And so again, it makes sense why she's incredibly scrappy.
She's treating everyone like a drug dealer. That makes so much sense. Because if you told me she did puff pieces, I would have been like, how did that go? And the news reporters were just being like, and tell me what you was like when you got that kitten out of that tree. You know, like, I don't think this makes total sense. Like, everyone is a criminal to her. So actually the analogy that has been annoying me the entire season actually explains a lot about her.
It fits.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this rights negotiation for a second?
Yes.
Because obviously when this secret scene hit our airwaves about Sophie finding Christina's idol, even though it wasn't the idol, again, it helps like slightly nudge things into motion. And I think the very first thing a lot of people were saying was, why did we cut this, but we kept in, I'll just use the adjective, useless 3-minute sequence of the rights negotiation, just to read the stats off a bit, to count on my own fingies, as you say, Liana. The past 4 seasons, so 46, 47, 48, 49, 3 times, nobody has negotiated for rice. Everyone has stood their ground and said, nope, we are not doing it. Even season 48, which I think a lot of people maligned as like the most kumbaya, lovey-dovey new era season, they all refused to sit out a challenge to get rice. And Survivor 47 only did it because they navigated a loophole and said, well, if nobody sits out, how about all of our shots in the dark sit out instead for the rest of the game? How about we send them to the jury? So I feel like it's not exactly going out on a limb to say that this has unquestionably become a failure. And I'm sort of trying to figure out where this lies. Is it the repetition? Is it the fact that, as Savannah does wisely call out, a la the drug dealer she's used to commiserating with, this is not a negotiation at the end of the day?
Well, the funniest part to me was who actually ended the negotiation in this season was Jeff being like, yeah, well, okay, sounds like you guys aren't going to negotiate. So, well, then I'm not going to negotiate with you. Like, all of a sudden, when Savannah was like, well, let's see what what he counters with. And Jeff's like, no, I'm not going to negotiate with you. That was how it felt to me as a viewer. So that was also like a new outcome for this, where Jeff is actually the one who like really puts the kibosh on it. But I think for me, it was watching and then hearing Jeff say, you have 7 days left. 7 days. I think they'll be fine for 7 days. Like, that's probably going through all of their heads. So I think if you're going to do the rights negotiation, you have to do it earlier in the season.
I am so sick of this. Like, when did he knife the bag?
That was 45. So that was the time right before we
great.
hit the streak.
Peaks.
That was the peak, and we're never getting back there again. What was 46? I don't even remember.
The 46 was the first time that everyone just outright refused to do it. And then they set up something in a future challenge where it was like, okay, if you sit out, you get an individual portion of rice, which Liz and Venus did.
Okay. Jeff should go to improv classes with Christina. Like, at this point, like, they didn't say no. Jawan was interested in doing something.
Yes.
So,
in fact, Jawan was actively like encouraging Jeff
Yes.
to neg them, to like buy them
Yes.
down. Because
Yeah.
I love that Savannah's like, all right, let's workshop that. Then Jawan just comes in hot, like, aha, how about a
One
quarter?
grain.
It's like,
Quarter.
yeah.
How about a quarter?
But if
About an
Jawan
eighth
is
of a
willing
bag.
to, if he's willing to individually sit out for some rice for the tribe, how much more interesting is his vote? Do they still vote out
Yes.
Jawan, who has just done this for all of them when he's the one
Yeah.
who didn't have a shot at immunity?
Exactly.
They have to, right? Sophie wants to, she doesn't want Sage. Do they change it based on the rice? Like now, this is actually something that should be in the episode, which Jeff actually gains from them making this agreement because it's good for them to have rice and they can think. It's good when people can think, and also. Then they've made an interesting decision. It's good when they sit out because, okay, are we going around it? Are we just voting out Jawan anyway? Like, that's stone cold. He did this for us to have rice. He sat out of his chance of immunity. Now he's vulnerable. We're taking him out. All of that is interesting. The fact that Jeff is like, no, it's like, why did you offer it? Why is this on the show? It should maybe be a secret scene. And I don't even know. It would be one of like the secret scenes where they read Tree Mail for me, where I'm like, I didn't need this in my life.
Jeff was saying you don't want to negotiate where you have Jawan offering up to sit. What are you talking about? Even Savannah was like, let's hear what he's got to say.
And this is what Jeff had to say. Basically, he said, well, you've already negotiated with me because you've shown that you are willing to put your life on the line to earn immunity.
But Jawan wants to sit out. Let him sit.
But that's a metaphoric offer. If I'm sitting down to negotiate a salary, I can't be like, well, listen, I know you want a $10,000 raise, but you've clearly shown to me that you're a dreamer and that you love your job. Bye.
Yeah.
Someone's updating the resume.
You need something material. You need something substantial.
But you can tell that Jeff loves this because of what it says about the new era. Like, look how hungry they are, not for rice, but for the win and everything. And that's why they put it in the show as well, because the rice negotiation is so important in the new era. Like, it's such a staple. Like, rice is meant to be. And also because it just shows, how much they want it. It's like, none of that is interesting. What actually would be interesting is if Jawan sat out alone and then maybe got voted out, or it changed the outcome in ways that now this is relevant, or B, if he then maybe was like, okay, well, Jawan, you can't sit out alone, but 2 people can sit out for half, as he was offering. Who's the second person? Like, this is the whole point. It's like, who feels comfortable enough? And Jawan actually did. Like, there's something actually there. The fact that Jawan was saying that and then immediately got voted out, there's something there that's just negated so quickly. Because Jeff won't allow it to move. You have to let the players be creative when they're trying to be interesting, Jeff. So,
like, let it play out. Like, let's just see what happens, right?
Yes,
like, it felt like that was not even an option. I mean, who knows? Maybe they stood around and talked about nothing for 10 minutes, and then Jeff was like, "Okay, well, fine, you're not doing it." Like, but then don't even include it in the episode.
I think that's exactly it. It's like, if that's where it got to, and actually the negotiation just like fell apart, and they just wrapped it up. Okay. But then it's a secret scene. Maybe. Maybe. Like, it definitely was worse than Sophie finding the beads in the bag. What was the other secret scene? Was Rizzo, I think, looking for an idol. I mean, also. Look, there's 90 minutes of content. But even with that, I don't think that this... Is that too much complaining about it that it shouldn't be? But like, because the thing is, in Australian Survivor, this definitely doesn't make the episode. And Australian Survivor is like 100 hours long. But I know that Australian Survivors had things before where they've, even like way back when, they've had even like little individual awards where like they got a pizza and someone had to like, I don't even remember when this was. It's like on the tip of my brain. But like someone, and it was never on the show, someone had to like work out how much pizza everyone got or whatever. And they just didn't put it in because it just didn't end up being interesting. Like in Australian Survivor, they will not put it in unless it serves a purpose. Sometimes that purpose is completely fabricated. However, it will serve a purpose. So yeah, they just definitely.
No, I mean, I think that, yes, it is kind of, wild in retrospect through an episode that I think we largely all enjoy through, the chaos and excitement and unexpectedness, is the fact that, like, yes, this was just like a kind of a pointless thing. It wasn't overtly contributingly negatively to the episode. On the other hand, I do think that having this play out the way that it did is very emblematic of something that I've been talking about for a while with this season in particular, which is like, I feel like the new era of Survivor was giving the show a facelift. That 40 seasons in, it's like, okay, seeing some wrinkles here. There's some crow's feet going on. The jowls are sagging a little bit. Like, let's try some things to give it a little bit of a nip and a tuck to really try to have it look fresh and shiny and new again. but now the Botox is kind of worn off. You know, like now those wrinkles are back. The crow's feet have emerged once more. And so it's a little bit looking at this season and things like, you know, the three tribe structure and the rice negotiation and the split tribal council as more of a repudiation on like, we don't need to do these things. We've never needed to do these things. And I think that's maybe what prompts the response from all of us is less so about the direct impact it had on this episode and more so as like as we're closing out, you know, the 40s of Survivor.
Oh my God, I hope we are.
What did the rice negotiation represent, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, all of these things are so new era coded. Like all of these things, like if you say new era, a million things come to mind. Like there are so many things. Like this episode alone, 3 boys on a bench, the rice negotiation.
No, I will say yes. We're ragging on 3 boys on a bench, but like Pepperidge Farm remembers
So good.
Gabe Cade from Survivor Marquesas cringily rapping on the beach. Like making musical stylings has been around since the very first episode of the show.
Hey, I got nothing against rap. It's just the type of I think it's not even that. Like, look, they're trying to have fun. I do think the fact that they're like the new era is so theater kid coded. It's becoming a little bit self-parody. I mean, certainly, as I said, like the fact that it's like, it's because I'm a news reporter, like so, but no one knows. Like, there's just some things where I think it's because the contestants are so aware of the show and themselves that it doesn't feel natural. I think that's what it is. Like, I think when it's happening way back when, I mean, they're probably trying to be entertaining, but they're not, it's not like a formula that's like well-worn that they know is going to get a certain reaction. Whereas now I think it's because we're so in the weeds, like it's so meta that it just feels like a formula. I think that is what it is.
I'm so glad you brought that up because there's something that I really want to talk about from the entire sequence around Christina. Now, let me say first and foremost that like, God, my heart went out to her so much. Like clearly there was maybe some teasing, some rumblings in the promo to be like, oh, is this going to be another Liz situation? Clearly not. And I think, you know, I have not lost a parent yet. I'm very privileged in that aspect, but like you could just feel viscerally how incredibly frustrated she is by that aspect. And it's weird, right? Like, yes, this is the game of Survivor. It should be separated from your life outside of it. But like, she has hit a personal low at this point. It's been part of like a series of losses that she has kind of experienced since the merge. And not only does it harken back to a very big loss in her life, but also like, you know, then in that moment, she's trying to seek that source of comfort only for her to remember that she lost her biggest source of comfort years ago. Like, God, my heart went out to her so much in that moment. And I very much understood her need to just like vent and get it out there. And for what it's worth, I actually think for the most part, Jeff handled this really well. I think as much as we malign the sort of like therapist Jeff that sometimes comes out during these emotional moments, it didn't feel exploitative. I think he just gave her time to sort of like sit in that, to speak, to sit in that silence, and then for him to be like, listen, I don't know your mom from Adam. It sounds like she was an incredible woman. I think you are representing her in so many ways. She is here with you in so many ways out here. And, you know, that manifests in a lot of success that comes in this challenge. All that is to say, vested within all of this emotional segment is one choice quote from Jeff that he said a couple of times, but he mentions, I think, for the first time on the show here, which is the game of Survivor gets you here. That's the lure. But the experience you get while playing the game is the real prize. That is his entire credo for the new era, in my opinion. It all boils down to that it is not necessarily about like, all right, people pick to cut each other's throats in the pursuit of $1 million. And it's more so about how it's coming out to this game where you are deprived of so much, literally starved of so much. How is that going to change who you are fundamentally as a person? And it has happened before previously, perhaps coincidentally in seasons before the new era. We have seen people come onto the show and not need to undergo that transformation in the new era. But this to me is a fundamental, I think, shift that has prompted a lot of polarized opinions about where the show currently sits in terms of philosophy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's very Survivor man coded, right? Doesn't it feel like that with being birthed into Survivor and the amniotic mud and all of those kinds of things? And maybe I'm Berenstein bearing this, but like I do feel like he mentioned it in the 41 monologue at the very beginning of the new era or something like that. Like the new era does feel absolutely growth coded in the sense of you're going out on Survivor. It does not matter the outcome. We're going to tell your story of who you are and your struggles on this island. And that's the story. It's not about the game and who's going to win. I mean, yes, of course, it's embedded within that, but so much of it, and I think 48 especially really captures this, which is sort of this journey growth narrative arc where you see, you know, the main characters being Joe and Eva and their whole story arc being like really key points within the show. So, I mean, yeah, look, I think that that's accurate. I think to go back to your other analogy, Mike, earlier of the filler and the Botox of it all, I feel like it's time to dissolve the filler. You can keep the upper blepharoplasty and the dysport, but you have to get rid of everything else. Like we're going to take those nips and tucks that we like. We can keep those, but then we can throw everything else out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, I think that it's a really good point because I don't think that that's how a TV show should be made. Like it shouldn't really be about the experience that these 18 people are having. At the end of the day, Survivor is a brutal game and it will test people and they will grow. That will just naturally happen. But I think the focus on that seems ham-fisted. You know what I mean? Like, and I look every week I've come in, which is great. It's so good that this is like my last season of the US covering for the foreseeable future. I think about it all the time.
Before you have your own child be birthed into amniotic
before
mud.
I go through my own growth.
Is Jeff going to set up, by the way, like the big mud pit that you're going to crawl under when you're in labor?
What?
Yeah, some people have like a water birth. You're going to have the amniotic mud birth.
Because you are that big of a Survivor fan.
Obviously.
That's not at all.
I think you're going to toss the baby into the basket like they did with those buoys.
I can't believe the one you're not going to is everyone says that the net challenge is like a birth.
Oh yeah, crawling through it, like the one that you the butthole.
I mean,
one.
that's anyway. Let's not picture. That's not anyway. I'm having a C-section. It's not what I'm doing, but which is already
you have
something
to
I've
win
said
that epidural. Dig deep.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, why are we talking about this? My point is that why were we talking about this? That
because we were talking about the idea about
on
the experience, and I think that for what it's worth, again, we've had this happen just naturally on its own. I think that's the key word is natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we've had people undergo these big growth. I mean, look at someone like Cochran, for instance, like his metamorphosis between his first season and his second season. I think the key difference is it's not actively presented in front of our faces. And yes, I know that
priority.
It's not so heavy-handed also.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being the priority, right?
And I think that's also what ties into, again, you know, some of the common complaints about the new era, which is like, oh my God, we're getting all these personal backstories. Like, I think that's getting tied in because it's saying, oh, so-and-so is feeling imposter syndrome because of this previous trauma that they experienced, and look what they were able to become now. I think it all stems. This is like sort of the main center of this sunflower from which all the petals of the new era have grown around.
Yeah, I think it's like if everything's about, and this is again, we're 9 seasons into this and we're still complaining about something that I think has been an issue from the beginning. But I think if it's about how can you grow, how can everyone grow, how is it about that experience? Like, is any of that growth earned? And yes, it is, but it's easy to then look at that and be jaded about it. Whereas if it's like Survivor is so hard, people do grow. We pick those best stories and we tell them. And some people don't grow and they just like cut their way through. Like, did Richard Hatch grow? No, you know, like that wasn't what he was there to do, probably, right? So
his jail time grew.
I think it's the exact it's the exact thing that we always complain about this. And then I will stop bitching about the new era, but because it's been nice, because I get sick of myself bitching about it because we've been here for so many years. But I think it's because it's the intention. Like, we want to see you grow, and then that's what we're going to showcase. What it should be is, you're 18 people, do what you will, grow or not. And if you do, we're going to show it. And if you don't, and you're a sociopath who just wants to like vote people out, and we're going to show that, you know, like, but it's led from the players. And I think that it's because everything feels so not manipulated, but like it has so much of that, not even that agenda, but it's so much from production that then we just look at it and we're like, well, we're jaded about it. So
yeah, because for what it's worth, like I think Jawan is a fantastic example of it being player led. Like I think
yeah,
all the way that his storyline was presented was incredibly natural from last week with him talking about, him needing to be sort of the caretaker of his family. And so him having a lot of troubles just sort of receiving gifts through the fried chicken reward of it all, through even this episode where what does he do when everyone's down? He's got to go out there and he's got to fish to the best of his ability. Like that just feels like very good grounded natural storytelling to me about a naturally built in growth arc. So again, it's not to say that it's all artificial in the new era. I really don't think it is. And I think they still have the capacity to represent that growth in so many ways. As you mentioned, it doesn't necessarily need to happen to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. My God, how much time? This is how I'm going out. Do you think if the 50s are the same, I will raise my child happily? If the 50s are different, I'll have FOMO. Like, are we gonna go back to regular Survivor? Let's see how it goes. But yeah, it's been a long few years, and a lot of it's been good. Can I actually say this? This is something I wanted to say. This is like a tangential point, but I think a lot of the new era is really good. You might be surprised by that. I think 42, 46, 45, 47 are all like really good Survivor seasons with like cringe moments in them because new era. But it's so interesting. I was talking to a friend about this, like who's a casual of Australia and the US. And I was like, how are you enjoying the season? She was like, yeah, it's like all the other new era seasons. And I was like, it's not a great season. And the last season wasn't a great season. I think that those are like I think 47 is great. And I think 48 and 49 is getting better. But I think they're like eons away from like a 47 or the run we had from 45 to 46 to 47. But she was like, they're all the same to me. Like, I can't tell you why 47 is different from 48. And to me, again, those are like polar opposite seasons in quality. Yeah. So it's interesting that the new era is so samey that it stops any season from being above, like, I think for the casuals, like for us, like we could name the boot orders of every new era season. But like, I think there's a threshold of how good it can be. And that, to be fair, I think that threshold is probably pretty low. However, it also, I think, stops in their mind the seasons from being particularly bad because they're all kind of just the same level. Like sometimes that level is actually a little flattering, I think. But it's also damning to seasons I think are way better than that.
I completely agree because I do think that, like, yes, there are a lot of bells and whistles, again, nips and tucks that come with the new era, but like I would still put 45 through 47 up there in particular as like maybe the strongest 3-season stretch.
I love 42.
And 42 as well. But like, the consistency that we had those 3 seasons in a row, like it's kind of unparalleled across the show's history. But, I think even if you ask some people about this season, they're like, what do you think about it? They're like, it's a new era season. And like the fact that label is attached, I think very much speaks to your point.
But this season, like 48 is not just a new era season. Like 48 is a really bad season of Survivor. But like, you know what I mean? But then that's actually flattering to 48. But that's like terrible for 45. You know what I mean?
No, there's like one consistent sort of bar that's set.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's like that bar might be like a 4 out of 10, which is awful for some of the seasons that are way better. But like maybe 48 gets out of that a little unscathed, that it just gets to be a new era season. That's not how I remember it. I thought it was torture. No, it was bad. It was really bad. Yeah, I just think that's interesting. It's like if you want to be at like a little bit less than mediocre level, they've nailed that. For the people who aren't thinking about it as much as I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, this is an opportunity. Like, I know we've gone super tangential about this past half hour, but again, I think this season can be looked at as an opportunity to sort of be an examination of the new era and the choices that have been made from the players, from production, from the editing, from, the audience, etc. And again, not to say that 49 is entirely representative of everything that's happening. Because again, I think there's been a lot of good that exists in there. But I don't know. I like using this as an opportunity to sort of do a little bit of navel gazing and look back upon all the decisions that have been made over the past 4 years or so. And, we're nearing the end of this. I think 50 is going to feel obviously incredibly different, and 51 might be even more different. So like, this could possibly be our time to sort of check in on the quite literal end of an era here and look at what may have worked, what worked at the time, what doesn't work now, and what they could, as you mentioned, Liana, try to carry forward with them into whatever the 50s might be.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see, ultimately if any feedback is taken into consideration and what ultimate changes if any, get made into, into 51, right? How potentially the outcome of 50 shapes the new era as the new era, I guess. I don't know, whatever the 50s are going to be called. So I'm just like, I'm holding out judgment. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see. And I'm very curious to see what 51 has in store. I mean, look, I, for one, was incredibly excited for season 41.
Totally.
The phrases? Oh my God. Iconic.
We peaked at the
Amazing.
phrases on Beware, by the way. By
And
far.
that's the thing. Like the phrases was such a good type of new era energy.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's a little looser, it's a little goofier. Yes, they're forced to do these things, but it's done in the funniest way. Where you have this rancher from Wyoming fumbling and bumbling over this odd analogy about him having a broccoli head or whatever. Like that was just good, clean fun, you know?
I mean, it's never gotten better. That was it.
Ugh. I have the mug. I'm confused as a goat on AstroTurf. Like that lives rent free in my head. So that's kind of like the energy that I'm hoping. And I do feel like as we've trailed through from kind of 41 now to 49, I do feel like, okay, we've gotten a little bit stale. We've gotten a little bit repetitive. We're trying things that really aren't working so well. So is this kind of like the kick in the pants that's needed in order to remember those good, fun things, reinvigorate them, and go into 51 with that same attitude? So that's what I'm holding out to hope for.
Totally.
The craziest thing would be if we got to 51 and it was just exactly the same.
Oh my God! But what if it's like two tribes? Like even if it's just like two tribes? Oh my God! Two starting tribes? I'd be thrilled. I'd be so excited.
Tribes. Yeah, I mean, I think we don't know, because the crazy thing about it is that Survivor has never had a run even remotely this long of the same structure ever.
Yes.
Yeah. But they chose it for the new era, which is insane. So we don't know when it will end. We're assuming, because we don't know. Like, technically, what if they just do go back to 51? They could. They could do it.
It's really Schrodinger's season, where like we don't know, and I don't think production even knows at this point. I mean, Jeff has at least said in interviews that he's like, well, we're gonna wait to see how 50 is received before we move into 51. I will also say, by the way, I do think a lot of concepts for 50 have been soft launched in 49. I think the lack of mergatory is something. I think like the merge, I don't know if they start with 2 or 3
the lack of mergatory.
The lack of mergatory,
regular merge, just a regular merge.
Yeah, like I think that was soft launched here, like an extended.
It wasn't soft launch here; it was soft launched in 2000.
Soft relaunched, I should say, unwrapped, microwaved, leftovers taken over. I would say that the swapping to 2 tribes, then maybe swapping again. I think an extended pre-merge compared to other seasons. All things that were done in this season that's a little out of the ordinary. I don't think it's as far as them piloting Edge of Extinction before Winners at War, but it might be some interesting structural things to look out for 50 proper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
possibly.
We'll see.
Well, we never get to talk about US Survivor, so it's fun to. I mean, even though it's a lot of complaining, I came in, I said to Mike, I'm like, I have all these feelings. I can't say on the podcast. Cut to me just ranting about Hina, and I think I gave what I had in the end. So, yeah.
Well, listen, we love the energy, the verve. And we also love a man who represents that energy and verve in a very different way out on the island. That is Jawan. Now, Jawan, really, really great interview out there. And I'm not just saying that because he said he listened to my content to prepare for interviewing for Jeff. Hopefully, I don't take
and
people.
And he said he watched Australian Survivor.
He did say he watched Australian Survivor as well. I'm sure one of the many conversations he couldn't have with Nate until they actually got to jury. They're like, we are so alike and we just didn't realize it, you know?
Yeah, the Australian Survivor thing is the thing they're talking about, and not that Nate is Jawan's favorite person, but Jawan just didn't know.
In the MCU.
The Marvel perspective.
Yep.
Well, I think Nate really needs to listen, he's a Marvel executive. He knows how to phase these things in, right? I think he starts with Australian Survivor. Then he's like, by the way, I also live in California. Oh, by the way, I produced Black Panther in the Captain America series. That's when you really lead him to that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
I missed Ponderosa, but I'm sad we're not going to get that moment. That would be if someone just took off a wig Hannah Montana style and was I guess anti-Hannah Montana style was I was Taylor Swift this whole time. And I was I wasn't working with you. I voted you out. I flipped and I voted you out, Taylor Swift. I want to see that moment. Mm-hmm. But you still have to talk to Juwan, right?
I still have to talk to Juwan.
Oh my God, please ask him about that.
Yeah, it is on my list. Is to ask him about
to ask Juwan.
what his. Now, I granted there's a chance that Nate may not reveal that information until the live after show, right? Because that seems to be kind of like the wellspring for everyone coming forward with their secrets and saying, yeah, this is
Nate
what
is
I
actually
actually am.
good.
But like,
Yeah.
it again, this is a natural connection that we thought was going to happen, to the point where, getting into our predictions, that was something I kind of banked a lot
of people did.
a lot of my Jawan credits on here. So I did have Jawan going pre-jury, but I did have him making the merge. I had him in that that 12th place spot. I said, while Nate does not open up to Jawan about his secret identity, the two immediately lock in as Black Marvel fans working in the entertainment industry. A self-proclaimed people pleaser, Jawan will try his best to become the provider of Uli. We'll get some scene of, I never would have expected a kid from Jersey to be out fishing in Fiji, only for him to return with a fish as small as the job market for video editors.
Oh my God, Mike, what the hell?
That was amazing.
Jesus.
Well, it only all downhill from there.
Well, that's very high.
Well,
that's like the beware advantage phrases.
While everything is copacetic during the pre-merge at Uli, once the merge hits, suspicions about Nate having something are at a fever pitch. So with the dynamic duo separated during the split tribal council, Jawan is sent to the cutting room floor. As much as he said he appreciated the more aggressive players like Say and Rome, he got done in by one in the form of Savannah, who takes him out. Though he's voted out unanimously by 5-2 Jawan, oof, he'll get a hefty consolation prize, as RHAP will immediately enlist his services to make fan cams about Rob on the Traders. That's
that's nice.
That's a bit of a TBD. We don't know if that epilogue will be true or not. His ally was Nate, and his enemy was Savannah.
That's nice to give him a job.
Yeah, is this Mike hiring him?
No, I also had, I believe, in my Nate prediction that Nate also hires Jawan to work for Marvel. So
we all thought that.
A lot
we
of
did all think that was the possibilities were endless, right?
We don't know. That's not true at this point. The information just may not have been revealed.
Can you ask Jawan tomorrow?
I will ask Jawan specifically, are you working for Marvel right now? Blink twice if yes.
Yeah, and is it TV Marvel or movie Marvel? Because I feel like that's different as well.
Yeah,
I mean, you take your shot on TV. Some of the TV shows are pretty good. WandaVision is my favorite thing they've done. Anyway, Liana.
Yeah, so I also did not. I had even lower hopes for Jawan, which, by the way, so happy I was wrong that we got more of Jawan on this season. I thought he was super nervous in his video with Mike, so I had him going pre-jury. I said that Jawan enters the game as the self-proclaimed people pleaser of Uli, but his real talent is forming one accidental ride or dies with people on the bottom. Although he and Shannon bond instantly over their chaotic storytelling and unfiltered commentary, the rest of Uli finds their duo a lot. Wanting allies over advantages, Jawan refuses to go on a journey and tries to build trust the old school way, but this puts the final nail in the Jawan coffin, as now the majority knows he does not have any advantages. Despite being the first boot on Uli, Jawan goes out with the most positive attitude, excited to be a super fan turned game player. Yeah. His ally was Shannon, his enemy was the rest of Uli.
He did go out with a great attitude. That is true.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate, though. He did go on the journey, though, and that he actually used that really well. So
he comforted Sage. She was the one that was crying out and being good. It was like, no, it's fine. Listen, sometimes you swing and you strike out. It's all right.
I think that whole sequence was as much as I love the bluff in the moment, I think that was my favorite moment. That into him stealing the torch, which is hilarious.
Oh my God, so funny.
I think it just showed like the fire and ice that is the Jawan Sage pairing.
Yeah.
The fact that he's like, hey, we made the wrong decision. You know, because there's so much guilt about the fact that their agency and the actually huge power they massive led them there. And the fact that Jawan is so okay with it. Like, it's, again, I don't relate. I could never be. I would be more like Sage, definitely. And she's been spared. And she's just so guilty. Like, in that moment, she probably would prefer it was her. It was very powerful. I love that reaction.
Yeah, completely agree.
But Mike was way more right here. The fish thing was
I
crazy.
know.
And why did you? The fact that you said it was a tiny fish.
Yeah, that was like weird.
Because I feel like
traveler.
Maybe it's due to the ecology of the area. I feel like, does anyone really catch like bounties of fish anymore in Fiji? Maybe it's
about to put it to the test.
Maybe
Aussie can't. No one can.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe it's because it's also new players that we've been experiencing as of late. So it's not like anyone has a huge amount of experience with the Hawaiian sling, but I feels like everything they've been bringing back are like minnows at best. Maybe Jonathan was the best representation, but I feel like even the fish was like this big at the very most.
Maybe the fish population of Fiji is not in a good way, considering they've never left. And
well, they should have negotiated with the fish.
Yeah,
so they gotta start stalking the Fijian oceans. Like they do with like the trout ponds here.
Yeah, or go to like a local fish hatchery and like bring in like Atlantic salmon. Just like fill it with a bunch of foreign fish.
Yeah, like they do with the bamboo, right? Don't they like bring out bamboo?
Yeah. Oh no, they do that with coconuts. Did they do that?
There.
They put in random coconuts. I don't want them to do that. Please don't throw out some fish.
Okay, you're right, Shannon. Throw a bunch of dead fish on the beach to start, and then they could work with that. You're
you can use it as bait.
That's also remember back in like 41 and 42 where one of the rewards was just one big fish.
Wasn't that the one with the nullifier? Wasn't that?
Yep.
Yeah. The fact that I thought about this, I'm like, when they showed the rice thing, I thought they cut out that whole nullifier plot line. They showed the rice thing. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we've got a game to play today. And I was inspired by the rapping, Shannon, of the new hit rap group here of Three Boys on a Bench.
Three podcasters on a podcast.
Yes, thank you. But instead of rapping, I will.
Can we do like 3 pods on a cast? Is that abbreviating things too much?
Oh, 3 pods on a cast. I don't even know what that means.
It's nothing.
I mean, I know what it means.
Well, I
but
feel like I don't know. We've been doing this for a while. I feel like people have tried out the abbreviated verbalizing of like, are you casting today? Like, are you podcasting? Trying to drop that first
podding,
syllable.
surely.
I say podding.
I say podcasting.
I like saying casting.
Neither of those things.
I'm podding.
Because then there's a really fun Three's Company thing. Like, oh, are you casting? It's like, oh, yes, I am. It's like, oh, great. Well, here's my resume. Here's my audition video.
I'm really great at improv.
To the Black Panther franchise.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I don't think any of those things are anything.
No,
I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
Listen to me. I'm like, Jeff needs to learn how to improvise, and I'm like, that's not anything. I didn't like that. I need to step away.
Oh, I know. Not that. Instead of a yes and, it's no but.
3 hosts on a pod?
3 hosts on a pod.
Oh, right.
You need that monosyllabic word.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. We got there.
Yeah.
See, it seems easy, but it's not. Liana, you were saying you're not going to rap? Please rap.
No, I will not be rapping.
Definitely
what I will be doing
rap
instead is I will I will be reading limericks. So the way that the limericks work is the rhyming scheme is AABBA, just so everybody's familiar. And I will read to you an example. So I'm going to read a limerick where the last word is a blank, and you have to guess what that very last word is, but it will rhyme with the first 2 lines. Okay. So let me give you an example. All right. Sophie flew through the course with finesse, jumping and crawling through nets. When the challenge was done, she stood shining as one, the new queen adorned with the immunity necklace. Yes. So nets and finesse. So it will be up to the 2 of you. We'll go back and forth to guess what that word is that is the fill in the blank. And these are all about things that happened in this episode. So, Mike, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Sage said her discomfort was starting. Some digestive rebellion.
I knew this is
but it's idols, not guts, driving all of her struts. Her gas excuse was a lie. She was not even
farting.
Yes.
The way when I saw that scene, I was like, "Oh, I'm on the B&B this week."
I'm surprised it took us an hour and a half because, like, you talk about the fire and ice. Let's talk about the solid and gas here. Sage, because my assumption is she's used this numerous times. This is the George Glass of Sage being like, "No, I wasn't plotting your blind side. I was really hot boxing the water well over there. Do not go over there." And so, if she makes it to the final 3. Is she gonna have to do like a big Marianne moment of like, whoever smelt it dealt it? Those farts were not mine, my friends.
But then Sophie's like, Jawan is a social threat, and Sage is doing a lot of wheeling and dealing. They know what she's doing. They know that Sage would never step away. See, that's the thing. That's where the lie falls away. Is like Sage would never. The little amount I know about Sage is that she would not have that decorum.
Jawan is
So-
Jawan's very likable, but you could say Sage is the smarter farter.
Maybe she was prepping. Maybe that was like all that stuff we saw in those first couple episodes. That was her laying the fart work, the groundwork, right? To like make
Crop
this
dusting, yeah.
lie. Yeah, she was.
And it's like,
crazy.
and why is she always with Jawan for that? Like, why is he the one who's like immune? Jawan's like, I have no sense of smell.
Yeah, he had
So,
COVID. He isn't.
yeah.
He can't smell
I've
anymore.
lost it
It's
and never
fine.
got it back.
Now,
Exactly.
if she were to have gastrointestinal distress, that would be deadly for these individual challenges. She might be the biggest threat because she could commit chemical warfare and cause the rest of the competition to drop out at a certain point.
She should have done that when they were like on the because it's the obstacle course is probably not going to help so much, but like when the sitting and holding kind of ones, those
That she was in a
could be
prime position to
Yeah.
ass blast the entire community.
the one
and-
with the legs up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah,
I don't think anyone should
Yep.
take Sage on rewards for the rest of the season. I think she's a menace to
Mm.
society right now. The,
Mhm.
the survivor society. Don't put anything in this woman's
Oh my
stomach.
god,
She'll destroy
Jeff's
you
gonna be
all.
like the reward this week: broccoli, beans, and hard boiled eggs. And everyone's like, no, Sage cannot go.
She's the opposite of Jawan. Like, no, I'm not. Sage can be by herself. It's everyone gets Sage.
Take this from her. I know she won this, but we need to take this from her. It's the opposite of the Jawan situation.
I want to commend you
Oh.
both for getting over an hour and a half into this podcast without doing this. Like,
really-
I genuinely am so.
I knew I
impressed.
had this, so I was
Oh,
like,
you knew
don't
it. But
worry.
Mike-
I know I'm gonna
Wait, we-
Mike,
I-
you waited an hour and a half before saying ass blast. Like,
I
Incredible.
held it in, but eventually it just got too pressurized. I had to.
Yep.
Blast
I'll
it
let
out.
that one out.
genuinely, I'm shocked. Like,
They're
I
happening.
underestimated you both very much.
All right, Shannon, let's go to you for our next limerick.
Something that never would have been. This is how you know it's a crossover, because on Survivor Global, never ever. We could
So
have done
on
10
Survivor
hours.
Global, that wouldn't pass. On the B&B, we pass gas.
Ew.
It's a different podcast.
Poor Shannon.
Just-
All right, Shannon, here's your
Shannon's
next
having a
limerick.
worse time talking about this than the complaint she has about the new era.
I love
Rather,
complaining
yeah.
about the new era. That's
Look
not
at my
fair.
complaining with
My
the new era.
favorite topic. Yeah.
Okay. Shannon,
Would you
here-
guys have gotten to whether the throwing the vote on Rizzo was trying to counter a minority split?
No, at this point, we would have talked exclusively an hour and a half about the farting. We would have only
Yeah.
gotten to the other
Well,
topics.
Either you're
Correct,
welcome or
yeah.
I'm sorry, based on the audience that wants to be here for this. Like, this is a
Yeah.
crossover, so yeah.
we would have written the lyrics to "You Drive Me Coconuts." Like that's
Yeah.
where we would have been. In the
You drive
state
me
of
All right,
mind.
coconuts.
you drive me
Sage keep-
coconut.
You drive me coconuts. Sage keeps farting out her butt.
Yep. Thank you. That's good.
In what
That's
world?
it's actually about Sage, which is crazy.
She's the you. This is like,
Okay, I
she,
wouldn't have
you
gone
know,
in that
Steven could be the
direction.
Taylor Swift, right? Being like, you drive me coconuts. Why'd you tell Jawan that I had it, that Christina has an idol?
Yeah, and then I only find out he was Taylor Swift at Ponderosa.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There we go. It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's your limerick. Christ-
Question two.
No more farts.
No,
No
more.
more
I
farts,
refuse to
Mike. That's
believe
enough.
that.
Christina held on to her dream with her mom and her tribe as her team. Every slip, every cry drew a roar to the sky till she dragged herself over that.
Beam.
Yes, over the beam. One of my favorite Jeff quotes of the episode: "Hug that beam."
I'm glad he said hug,
Amazing.
because I definitely thought about the other thing. I actually there was a long discussion a bunch of us had with him at some point, because we did that episode 3
Humble
water
brag.
challenge, and
Mm.
he talked about, like, as they did in this episode, like, hey, if you can't walk your way across the beam, shinny your way across.
Mhm.
And we're like, oh, don't you mean shimmy? He's like, no, shinny. Apparently you're supposed to use the term shinny specifically when it comes to, like, scooching your butt across. So Jeff Probst taught me something very
No.
new, is that we've been
I'm
Berenstain
Googling it.
Bear style, saying it the
No.
wrong way this entire
Jeff's
time.
just wrong.
And Shinny?
Jeff's wrong.
Shinny, yes, with N's instead of M's.
Shinny? Shinny.
Oh yeah, another
Huh.
term for shimmy.
Another
but it's
term
only
for
North
shimmy.
American English, so I don't have that.
Interesting. Okay. Whatever, Jeff. All right. Mike, back
I
to you.
like how the Google definition is, he'd love to shinny up that tree.
Yeah, he does.
Oh my god, it
okay.
is shinny.
Yeah, it's shinny. Wait, but he meant specifically on your butt?
Yeah, like that you are, like,
No,
hugging
it's
it.
never shimmy.
Yeah, it was always shinny.
It's
I don't know
never.
if this is.
Wait,
As
what
in,
is the
like,
word shimmy
Right?
then?
Now you're
Shimmy is
right.
like dancing.
Yeah, now
Shimmy is
you're
like-
in the headspace I was in when I had this revelation several months ago.
What? Yeah, you're right. A jazz dance characterized by shaking.
No, it is also true in
Yeah, like
Australia.
this is a shimmy, and this
Yeah,
is a shinny.
shimmy.
It's also true in Australia.
Not that motion. We need an
What-
edit of that.
Oh my God.
Okay, well,
Wow,
I don't.
wait.
Okay, I've decided I don't care.
Wait,
I'm gonna
that's
continue to use the word
insane.
shimmy.
Right?
Whoa.
Shinny. Ooh,
It's
sounds
never
weird.
shimmy.
It's always
I
been
don't like
shinny this
shinny.
whole
I
time.
don't
The
like
fact that I was
Astronomy.
just like, nope, Jeff is wrong. He's wrong. He was wrong about the rise. He was wrong about
Yeah, I would have agreed with you.
No, he was right.
Mm,
My gosh.
Hmm.
Sorry, Jeff.
okay. Well, next time I cross a balance beam, I'm doing one of these.
And Jeff will say, much like Christina, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. Classic shimmy.
Liana got the shimmy double feature.
Also, we finally made good on like the Suri promises for Christina that I feel like a lot of
Yes.
people were talking about in
Yep.
the pre-merge.
Yep.
I mean the preseason, but like it wasn't
That
how
was-
I thought.
No, not on the beam.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
not how you
I
thought
didn't
she
think
was
it
going
would
to be
be so
similar to
beam
Serene.
like, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really relying heavily on the beam. Yeah.
Also
That's
did
not, like if you were to say like to someone, it's like you're gonna be like Sareed, be like not the beam, not the beam. I don't want the beam. I'll take anything else, even fire.
Anything but the beam.
Yeah.
I'll take advantage get end out of the
And
game.
then Jeff says,
Not
the
beam.
fact
Three,
that
two, one,
you
please, 3, 2, 1.
want to stand and be Suri is all we could negotiate with. So no deal. You're doing the balance beam.
Yep. No.
It's like, am I gonna convince someone to give away their necklace? It's like beam. Yeah, it's not what you
It's
want.
the beam.
It's not what you want.
Okay, Mike. When Jeff pulled out that bag looking nice, he said, "Trade me your shots for a slice."
Bag looking
But-
nice.
This hungry final 8 chose to gamble with fate. They'd rather compete than sit out for the
Rice.
yay.
It's really
That
hard.
bag looking so nice.
But they didn't choose that. Jeff forced it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, sorry, my limerick is actually incorrect.
That
It's
feels
not
like
accurately
bad looking so
represented.
nice is like if someone took the Paramount Plus subtitles and like translated them to Serbian and then translated them to Japanese and then to I don't know French and then back to English. Like that bag looking so nice is like very slightly off kilter from what English is supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah. But also the subtitles are also not great anyway. So I think you're already starting somewhere worse and
Yeah,
gonna get even worse.
I know
so,
we
yeah,
mentioned
it
Xandra out
fits.
of nowhere, but he was mentioned even before we did this season.
That's true. That's
You
true.
guys laugh, but I watched 2 seasons of Survivor this way. So I watched Finnish and Quebec Survivor with the terrible English subtitles, and I'm telling you, a lot of it was actually a lot worse than that. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Lucky
a
you.
That looks so
Yeah.
nice.
So nice. Okay, Shannon, here's your next limerick. First, Christina saved Steven from steak. Then Rizzo tried one more big play to make. Jeff
steak?
squinted.
Wait, what do you mean from steak? Like the steak? Like burned at the steak? Is he a vampire?
I'm worse at writing lyrics than Steven. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Jeff squinted and frowned as the tribe laughed around when they learned that his idol was only a boy.
fake.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to hear it
We're all
again.
just
I
having a
think
good
we can
time.
do
We're,
better.
we're all laughing around.
I think we can do
Around.
better than steak.
All right,
What's the
let's
first line?
workshop this.
First, Christina saved Steven from his fate.
Not great.
Then
That's not great.
Rizzo tried one more big play to make.
What
Jeff
about like
squinted and
what about like Christina's plan wasn't fully baked?
okay, sure.
Is he
Christina's
even awake?
fully baked?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Then Rizzo tried one more big play to make. Jeff squinted and frowned as the tribe laughed around when they
Did he-
learned his idol was only a fake. Okay, you only have to suffer through 2 more of these.
I was
My
suffering right
head-
now. I'm having a great time.
Something to take? No. Okay.
Okay,
I can see you
Mike.
put in a lot of effort.
Over the coals, Christina was raked.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. While the camp smelled like fish in a trench. They practiced their lyrics in stench. Their band name, a gem, a true Survivor anthem. They call themselves Three Boys on a
Bench.
Yes.
Okay, wait, can I hear the full thing? Because this first two lines are cinema, which I guess is poetry.
Why did you go with fish when there was a whole farting subplot?
But that was fake.
Yeah, because that was fake. There was actually no farts, but Joanne did catch a fish.
I think there are
Well,
farts, by the way.
Well, so
there's
they
just
did
fewer than.
That's true. I mean, Sage probably was still farting.
Do you think it was part of Sage's strategy to drop like one big old nasty wet one to really be like, this is the worst I can do? And so now she's kind of put that image in their mind of like, oh boy, if it's anything like that one on day 16, everybody look out.
I regret that I'm the one who brought this back up and I'm aware of it, but there actually was a whole secret scene about this.
Yes.
And it was still better than the rice. No, I don't know, actually.
Well, it really came down to the rhyming, right?
Yeah.
So the what I had for bench rhymes, words that rhyme with bench. Okay.
Bench.
We've got wench, yes.
Wench.
Stench, quench, drench, clench, entrench, the French.
So could have stolen the idol like the Grinch.
The Grinch. When Sophie stole Christmas. No.
Subtitled like the French.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah. So instead, we got fish in a trench. Okay.
What was the second line again?
They practice their lyrics in stench, which actually that I wrote first. That was inspired by when one of them called Steven Stinky or something like that.
Oh yeah. No, it was that Steven had said stench, I think, or Steven or Jawan said it in their freestyle.
Yeah.
We're sitting on the bench. Steven's got a stench.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was something
I'm
like
green
that.
like the French.
Same exact word.
Yeah, so they did practice their lyrics in stench, technically. All right, Shannon, here is your limerick. Jawan stepped up with confidence, of course, reached out with unshakable force. But instead of his own, he grabbed one not shown and straight up snatched poor Rizzo's
horse.
Torch.
Yes, it was horse.
Horse would be crazy. Imagine what that looks like. Imagine the scene.
Rides off into the sunset on Rizzo's horse.
That's cinema.
That is true. Yeah, truly cinema. Okay, I do have a tiebreaker that we can do.
You thought that we wouldn't get one of these?
That's why I went with the tiebreaker.
You know what? Liana actually set up a la Sage, the perfect smoke screen that we would get so distracted by the, I'm going to say generously, questionable rhyme that we wouldn't remember the last word.
Yes. Well, I remember when we did this for 42 and I made them way too hard. So it was like, okay, because it's either like they're super obvious or they're way too hard. So I went for the super obvious one, but I did come up with a tiebreaker. So for this one, it will be whoever yells out the answer first. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, of course, Mike's super excited. All right, here's your tiebreaker. Rizzo and Jawan leapt off the platform so tall, two dudes making waves like a brawl. With a splash and a yell that echoed like hell, one launched into the sea screaming,
Cannonball!
Yes, it was Cannonball.
Couldn't remember what they said.
Yes, Rizzo yelled that as he jumped in.
See, this is what I get for only half watching the challenges.
Yep, that was a crucial moment for me, apparently, that stood out. As I made the list of all the things I wanted to write limericks about, I was like, well, obviously them yelling Cannonball as they jump into the water.
I'm surprised more people post Charlie haven't yelled out like a favorite musical artist. I know we mentioned Taylor Swift a lot.
He got really good feedback. Yeah,
he went out, I think he went out on top. It's like, well, no one can top this, so Rizzo just has to do a Cannonball instead.
Yeah,
and people loved it, and people really liked how Taylor Swift focused he was. So I think if someone else were to do that,
they would love that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
That. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, congratulations, I guess, to Mike technically for winning, but congratulations all.
Stop, please. Stop shimmying
all around.
She's shimmying all around.
I beg you, stop.
Well, let's go from Shinny to Chizzy, shall we?
Oh, yes. I thought, back to global. We've been on a journey. Take it away, Jacob Sager Weinstein and MC Color.
It's getting kind of cheesy. 3, 2, 1.
We're giving 2 1-1s, which is funny because I really struggle about who should be on which one, which I feel like I always do when it gets to this.
Do you appropriate? Is there like a greater one and a lesser one?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
a 1.4 and a 1.1.
It doesn't actually matter, but it matters to the charts and it's like very important. So like definitely you have to say which is like the better one.
Yeah.
Even though it has no bearing on the actual result.
It's like differentiating the Sophies, right?
No, it's nothing like that.
Wow.
Although
Yellow
they
one and blue
both
one?
were in contention for me. We have blue one and yellow one. I'm gonna give 2 points to Rizzo.
Yeah.
I think, as we're saying, even if he just stands up, like he kind of makes it his move. I think still holding on to the idol is kind of it for me mostly. And I think the Flash had something in it in terms of maybe putting some doubt into like the like sure thing that he has an idol. I think as well for Rizzo, like there were 2 good things. I like that Savannah was like, we'll go for the swings, but Rizzo was like, but we'll still let Sophie decide. And even like the way that Jawan, like, and Jawan's gonna be good with this, but like the way he left with Rizzo, like I think that the jury do like Rizzo. And then I really struggled on who should be on the ones, of which one. Obviously, all of the Uli 4, as described last week, have, some merit. I'm gonna give the better
I like
one
that
to
Soph is like
Savannah.
a foster child at this point of like
Both
she's a
Sophies.
Hina, she's an Uli, like she's not. There's no what's Kella. Kella doesn't exist anymore.
It definitely doesn't. And I was calling it the Uli 4 last week, and Miles and I argued about it. And then they came in and they were like, the trio. I was like, ugh. And then Sophie was like, maybe I will. And I'm like, ugh. And then she was like, no, I'm gonna be with them. I'm like, hey, good. I was right. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give the better one to Savannah because again, I really like that she was like, we'll go for the swings. It was her extra vote that at least got them to save the idol, if not win the day. And yeah, I also think, I mean, look, it's had, we should be able to speak to it, but it's had merit how laser focused they've been on Savannah, and she's still around. And I think it's like protected. Like she's doing a lot. It may be antisocial in some ways, but having like all of that focused on you to protect everyone around you and then also protecting yourself is good. So I'll give her that. And then I'll give the lesser one to Yellow Sophie, who I did want to give 2 to as well. Again, I actually think the choice is pretty good. And I just think that she did so well to blindside mostly Sage and Jawan, if also the rest of Hina, but I gave her points for that last week as well. So I think she's done really well through this and like had so much power and used it well. So if anything, she should probably get more, but I think it works. They're all around there. Yeah. What do you guys?
I had the exact same 3 and actually in the exact same order. The other thing that I wanted to give to Savannah was basically the social capital that she had built up in order to protect herself, that people didn't want to vote for her. Sophie B doesn't want to vote for her. Sophie S doesn't want to vote for her. Like that all absolutely counts for something. So that was the reason, because I was trying to decide also between whether or not Savannah or Sophie S was going to get the higher one. And I'm giving it to Savannah.
Yeah, I'm with Liana here. I went Savannah to Rizzo 1 major, Sophie S 1 minor. Just because I think for me, I think this holds so much weight to Savannah's narrative that like she is kind of unkillable at this point. Now watch she get voted off next week, but like the fact that this is the first time she hasn't been immune and is still quote unquote on the bottom, and she still didn't get enough votes, and she had someone like in theory at least play an idol on her. I think that speaks so heavily to others. I think that yes, Rizzo did have this very crucial idea to make sure that Sophie felt heard. Don't want to have a Sarah Lucina situation. I think that is crucial to how this all ends up happening. But like, such a great move on Savannah and Sophie B's part as well to be like, why are we going for Hina at this point? As you mentioned, Shannon, they're all kind of like, they're self-sabotagers right now. They're not the ones that we should worry about. Let's worry about the people who have been the ones that have been actually determining who goes home these past few votes. So I think it was a really astute move to make, and I think it perfectly serves to like splinter, on paper at least, any chance of there being a new majority with having Sophie S on your side. And then 1 minor goes to Sophie S from my perspective, just because I agreed with the move that she made. I think also, I don't know how you don't really incorporate challenge wins into this, but like her winning immunity. I mean, we sort of laughed during the split tribal council when we're like, why are they calling Sophie a challenge beast at this point? Like she placed first once, but her challenge record so far has been first, second, second, first. That is remarkably consistent. And so I think that also helps at least help substantiate her case to at least get to the end because she has the capability. Honestly, unlike someone like Rizzo, who like low key is not great at challenges, which could put himself in maybe a bad situation if he like has to feel like he's in a win or die situation. He can't bank on his challenge skills as much as she can. So yeah, I agree that the Uli 4, which only actually have 2 Uli members in it, definitely won the week. So it makes sense that 3 of them get the credit for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for me is that Savannah made the call to go for the swings, which made a lot of sense. I should kind of deduct points from Rizzo and Savannah for being taken in by Joanne and Sage early, and then they got that information from Sophie. But at the same time, Sophie goes out of her way to save, from what we hear specifically, Savannah. Not even like, let me go with this group, like, well, I'll be, better with Uli, or maybe I'll take out a Hina and I'll come back on Uli. Like, she's not even talking about Uli. Like, she says, I want to save Savannah. So Savannah has utility for her, and she's earned that. So I still think I'll give the more important one, which has no actual difference, to Savannah. Liana, why did you go 2 to Rizzo? Was it about saving the idol?
Yeah, it was about saving the idol. It was about also for the letting Sophie pick. And I think the fake idol thing I think was fun. I don't know if that necessarily factored into the 2 points. But
cool.
Still to be bold enough to be able to do something like that, though, I think also just deserves some credit for whatever reason. So I'll give him a little point for that.
Yeah, I think when Jeff is like, do something fun, 50s next season, you do something, so that you've got to think about that as well.
Sage is like, wait till you see the farts I have in store.
I've been saving.
But you as well, like, for Rizzo, it's not even like, well, I'll be 2 out in front. Like, Rizzo, again, already has that persona locked in, so we might as well, like, have fun with it. And that's a gift. Like, when Jeff is saying have fun, and they're like, we're already on the bottom, we're already fighting, I'm Savannah, and I'm winning all the challenges, or I have this idol, I actually can just be audacious with it and try and, like, win a spot like that. That's great. Because I feel like someone like Soph has to be a little bit more subtle. Yeah. Because I think that people don't see her coming as much. But I think they can just kind of have fun, and they do. So
that's when you're already out front, it's like, hey, you already have this image of me. So like, I'm not exactly increasing the spotlight on me because you pretty much shown the biggest possible one. You put the whole floodlight on me. So apologies if I'm lighting more light bulbs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Chizzy has been taken care of. So it's time we move into the final segment of each and every week here on the B&B, where our esteemed guest gets to highlight a charity or cause that is important to them. Shannon, do you have anything that you would like to highlight for the listeners out there?
I do. I was just getting the exact website. We did a charity run during Australian Survivor for Forever After Rescue. And we raised $2,900 in the end, which was so awesome. It was a Chizzy raffle, which was so much fun. And the thing I love about donating to Forever After Rescue is, like, I know this cat rescue personally. Like, the funds are going to, like, actually help cats. Like, they will be like, we found these cats. Some might need, like, medical attention. Like, the money is, like, very much going to, like, a local Sydney cat charity. Anyone can donate. It's really easy. You do it on Facebook with a card, or you can do it via PayPal. Like, we've had international people donating through the whole Australian Survivor season. And I just think it's a really wonderful charity, especially now as we're getting to December, because it was, pretty much breeding season, and there's a lot of cats that need homes. So that is one. So the website is Forever, like FUR ever afterrescue.info. And you can just donate through there. And the other thing as well is, if you're thinking of getting a pet, as always, adopt, don't shop, because that's like the best. Like, that's like the best win-win, I think, of anything you can do. You get a great pet. I always think as well, Liana can speak to this as well with 2 cats. Like, you get 2. We have 2 bonded cats. I do this I'm always, and if anyone talks to me, I'm always like, you should get a cat. I spoke to Sam Phelan. He just got a cat when we were in San Francisco. And I'm like, by the time we're done, you will be getting a second cat. Like, either get a cat or get a second cat, but especially if you can get 2 together, it's often harder to adopt out bonded cats, and they love each other. It's like no more work. If anything, like, they entertain each other, which is great. So if you're thinking about something this Christmas, or, if you're thinking about getting a pet, certainly adopting pets who need a home is the way to go rather than, buying pets and contributing to that. So that's my charity of choice.
Well, much like two lovable kittens playing together, we were able to keep ourselves occupied with the playtime we shared over the course of this podcast. I love the opportunity whenever we get it to merge these two ideas into one, like any good merge. And so thank you, Shannon, for submitting yourself to the malarkey that was taken in throughout this entire 2-hour endeavor.
Hey, we got to the strategy. We talked about that too.
Exactly.
And,
we were the mullet, right? Business in the front, then party in the back.
Yeah. Hey, I think split votes are a party.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my kind of party.
To each their own party. Well, you are partying it up over on the global feed proper each and every week, rounding out only the final few weeks of Survivor 49. What would you like to plug for that and the other projects you're working on to the listeners out there?
Yeah, next week I have Karen from Australian Survivor, so we're going to talk about, what is it, week 11?
Yep.
Yes.
Season's flying by, and then there won't be Global for a while because the premiere of Global for 50, the premiere of 50 is roughly when I'm having a child, like crazy close to when I'm having a child. So I don't think I'll get one episode in, which is sad. I'm hoping maybe I don't want to say it, but if Sari goes early, then my investment will be kind of cut. Otherwise, I'm going to have so much FOMO, but yeah, and then I'll be covering Australian Survivor next year until I can't, which will also suck. But yeah, Survivor Global. Follow me at Shannon Gates. Every week we talk about a lot of the strategy. That's mainly what we're doing. I think we have fun. Gussin' Around is a podcast that I'm doing with my husband, Peter. Gussin' Around podcast on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple, where every week we just talk about life. Currently, our journey to parenthood or just random things. TV, just, personal stuff. Check out the first episode. If you like it, that's pretty much the vibe. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you guys for having me.
I really recommend Gussin' Around. It's an opportunity to take a look at Shannon's life from the perspective of someone that obviously she cares so much about in Peter. Get to find out more about Shannon the person rather than the podcast. So we are 3 hosts on a pod, but we are people at the end of the day. And sorry from the get-go, you opened up about some incredibly personal, emotional things that I am so happy that you got to do, especially due to the outpouring of support around it. So would not recommend it more. Feel free to check out Gussin' Around. You will not regret it.
Thank you. Oh, in saying that, on the Survivor podcast, I did say I'm having a C-section. So I get personal on the Survivor podcast. However, the Gussing Around is just all of that, but without.
Yeah, but for you, the C stands for Sari, right?
Yes.
You're having a Sari section?
Sari section. Let's go.
On the last podcast, we talked about how, because I've been saying I'm really trying to find what my birth playlist will be, and especially the song for when my child is born. And could you just put on a podcast? Imagine if I'm listening to just the 50 know-it-alls. I don't know if it'll make it in time, but maybe the 50 premiere B&B. You guys are just talking about farts, and I'm just having.
There you go.
I could. Do you think anyone's ever had a child while listening to a podcast?
Yeah. If you listen, I believe RHAP, someone was either listening to RHAP or listeing to the old Seinfeld podcast while they were in labor.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's what that's what we're trying to get. That's what we're. But I don't think I'm gonna do it. Just letting you know. Yeah.
Well, Liana, I know that this was not the only time you were talking Survivor this week. You dipped your toes, much like any Survivor player that's about to be booted, apparently, in their edit, into the waters of Survivor on the PAL.
You want more people complaining about the new era? Check out the PAL this week. I think it just really reached ahead last week. I was just really frustrated, and it was all I could think about. So yes, there is some more complaining about that, but we do play some other little fun games. Puya asks me questions while I'm blasting loud music in my ears with earplugs, and I try to understand what he is saying. So we do some other fun activities and things like that as well. So
are your ears okay?
Well, I had earplugs in, and then I had music in the noise canceling headphones.
So is this a lip reading test?
Basically, yes. I got, I think, 1 question correct out of all of them. So, yeah, it was definitely very fun to do. So I think you should check that out for both Survivor stuff as well as some other just nonsense.
A good test of sensory deprivation. But I tell everyone, come to your senses and check out the stuff that I am doing. Again, due to the holidays, we did not get the chance to talk with Jawan yet. I am doing so on Monday. So depending on when you're listening to this, it may already be out, or you may be eagerly anticipating it, as am I, because as Shannon mentioned, I have a good amount of questions. I think that the decisions he made, in particular these last few rounds, I'm really intrigued to get his thoughts on because, again, the way it was presented to us, or maybe not presented to us, leaves us with a lot of logical fallacies, perhaps. And so I'm sure Jawan is going to explain his logic behind that. Of course, I think his thoughts on the Savannah relationship, did he know the way she was regarding him until he watched all this back? Was taking her stuff incidental? Lots of stuff to get into with Jawan, including as well, don't you worry, Shannon, how he reacted to Nate revealing his true Marvel background. And of course, the Amazing Race. If you think the Survivor finale is coming up, we're only 2 weeks away from the Amazing Race finale. So I got together with Jess and Rob for a Black Friday edition of our recap. I had Quinn Martin on from Big Brother 26 talking about his former cast members racing around the world. So lots of great stuff going on as we wrap up CBS reality TV for the year. It's wild to think about, but we are podcasting at least on the last day of November. And so we are turning the calendar page, and we'll see how much the page has been turned on this season now following this use of advantages, fake and otherwise, and the Jawan boot. Special thanks to everyone behind the scenes at RHAP for packaging this podcast for your eyes and ears, and Will from America for his incredible theme song. Liana, I hope you can write lyrics for him in the future. You're a natural at it. We'll be back next week talking episode 11 of Survivor 49, and Shannon will as well. Until next time, everybody, we'll check you out at your next stay.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.